Somewhere beyond the recesses of time and space, two podcasters are set adrift in a machine, picking up transmissions of movies that are forgotten but not gone.
Welcome to Movie Memory Machine, the only podcast about forgotten movies whose interface is a mixture of Lauren Bacall and RoboCop. I am your host, Landen Solano, joined always by my co-host, Truman Caps. Truman, it's good to see you.
Landon, it is virtually perfect to be seen. 100101 indeed. Is it Lauren Bacall's law enforcement abilities that we get, and RoboCop's kind of sultry bedroom eyes?
Yes.
How does the combination?
It's his sultry
break down?
bedroom mouth. You can't see his eyes unless he takes his entire mask off.
But at the end of the movie you can see his eyes,
fair.
and
Yeah.
you know, and they're made sort of uncomfortable by his weird scalp with the Robo stuff on it.
Put your lips together and blow, punk.
My eyes are down here. I look, honest. Okay, I'm gonna call it right now. I think that Robo Lauren Bacall could get into Studio 54. No matter how good or bad of a shirt they were wearing.
That's gonna be the litmus test we have for every episode for the rest of the season. Is just whether or not the main characters can get, or the crazy characters we create can get into 54.
Look. Can you hear the creaking machinery of me trying to build a running gag and keep it going? Can you hear me limbering up and stretching for the marathon of keeping this bit on the road?
I can, but you know what? We don't have time for that today because we
No.
have pressing matters to get to.
Yes.
Which I'm going to start by asking you a question. Truman,
Yes.
have you ever worshipped a false idol?
Oh man, I mean, if you know what, I was pretty aggressive in my Austin Powers fandom as a wee lad. I was quoting Dr. Evil so much to the great chagrin of my poor mother and father. God bless you both. But honestly, I was actually talking to my girlfriend about this earlier today. I think the real false idol that I used to worship was that I used to be very fixated on James Bond movies, which explains the transition to Austin Powers. But we were watching a Muppet Show episode where Shirley Bassey was on, and she sang Goldfinger, and my girlfriend was asking me, wait, so Goldfinger, is that the one that has, where he, kind of low-key sexually assaults a woman in it? And I was like, oh yeah, no, he did. He did that in a lot of the movies that I watched regularly as a kid. Yeah. So I think the false idol I actually worshipped as a boy was James Bond, and I'm
misogyny,
I think I wasn't. I think I was mainly into the violence. Thank you very much. The misogyny just came along for the ride, and I was like, well, I don't know if I have to put up with this to watch him shoot a bunch of people. Okay, I mean, it's not a flattering picture of me in any sense, but. So yes, I've worshipped a false idol, but not like a false idol who I thought was a real person. Did you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think in a weird similarity to yours, mine was a real person. Acolyte? No.
Acolytes.
Acolyte?
An accolade is praise. You were offering accolades to this false idol. I was
offering accolades to an acolyte, or is that a student?
No, you were the acolyte offering your accolades to a false idol. Still
an
unnamed.
Acquaintance of Mike Myers. It's hard for me to separate this. I know this is a big claim, but I wouldn't be sitting here with you today if it weren't for Chris Farley. Now,
he introduced
very
us.
indirectly, but Chris Farley is the reason that I got into acting, into comedy, the reason I went out to LA, was doing stand-up, did improv, and then eventually, realized I was becoming too much like Chris Farley, not in terms of, drug use or, any bad habits like that, but, I was emulating him too much and didn't have my own personality. And then once I stepped away from that, realized, I don't think I really want to do this at that level, and started to step back, got into, podcasting, other stuff, and ended up here oddly ended up in Madison, his hometown.
Yeah. You did the full Farley, but in a positive way. I mean, it's like you kind of worked backwards. You know, instead of the death, you Benjamin Buttoned him back in. You're back in his childhood right now.
Yeah, in a weird way. But the big question is, if you could create a computer simulation of James Bond to, well, I guess not even be your best friend, but just act, if you could convince the world that you were James Bond through a computer program, would you do that?
Did you hear about a video game called GoldenEye 64? Have I not talked about how that was pretty much my personality for like 4 or 5 years? I mean,
a lot of people were into GoldenEye 64. No one was convinced that you were James Bond by you playing 64. Maybe GoldenEye.
You know, if I had some Amish kids in my neighborhood, maybe I could have actually pulled that one off if they had never seen a video game system before. I mean, I don't think that I ever wanted to be this thing that I idolized. It was more just a thing that I was like fixated on. I didn't see like the character of James Bond as like an aspirational thing that I wanted to be.
Have you ever played like one of those Second Life games? I seem to remember. I could not tell you the name of it, and it was never one of the popular ones. I feel like this is just a one-off, but I do remember at one point in the early years of the internet that there was some sort of like fantasy world game that had no objectives, and you could create a little sprite of yourself and walk around, and you would interact with other people doing this through typing. There was no voice stuff at the time, and I remember I got into that for a little while. I don't remember anything about it though.
Wait, was it EverQuest or
no?
Wasn't World of Warcraft.
It wasn't a brand name of anything.
Oh, it was like a browser game almost.
Yeah, yes, it was definitely a browser thing.
Yeah, kind of like, so you could basically have an 8-bit Simone in that game who can also cast spells and wear armor and stuff.
I guess, yeah, I did say we didn't have any time to waste today, and I haven't even got to the premise of the movie we're talking about, which is Simone. I'll let you do the synopsizing of it, but
the Simone
this is all a long, weird way of setting up everything I think we'll be touching on today and talking about this movie.
Yes, a movie that has a remarkable track record for predicting our modern day world in a sort of funny and ironic way.
What it gets right and what it gets wrong is really interesting to me.
Oh man, some more patented Truman and Landen foreshadowing the conversation they're about to have. Don't you love it?
Okay. So the machine this week has made us watch the movie Simone from 2002. Before I get into some details of this film, Truman, can you tell everyone what happened? What the fuck was going on in this movie?
I will tell people what the fuck was going on in this movie. Fledgling art film director Viktor Taransky, played by Al Pacino, gets into a fight with entitled movie star Nicola Anders, played by Winona Ryder, that leads her to walk off the set of his latest film. The movie studio, which is run by his ex-wife Elaine, played by Catherine Keener, opts to pull the plug on his film rather than recast the role, and his Hollywood career looks like it's over. Until a dying tech whiz gives Taransky a hard drive containing the prototype for an entirely virtual actress, played by Rachel Roberts, who is endlessly deferential and accommodating to the director's every whim and vision. Taransky dubs the CGI actress Simone and uses her to complete his film while keeping her virtual identity a secret from the public. The finished film is a hit, and Simone becomes an overnight global superstar. As Taransky and Simone's Hollywood fortunes rise together, he struggles to manage her newfound fame while going to greater and greater lengths to keep Simone's adoring fans from finding out that Simone doesn't even exist.
Okay, I have a qualm to pick with that.
A qualm to pick? Not a bone, mind you.
We'll get into it. It's about calling her deferential. That I can't wait to dig into her character and some of the philosophy behind this thing. But I made a note for myself to remind us to get back to that.
And you're also reminding the listeners that you've made a note to yourself. So if you forget to read your note, they can like text you and say, "Hey, remember to talk about Simone being deferential."
Exactly.
So guys,
this
remember.
Movie was written and directed by Andrew Niccol. starring Al Pacino, Catherine Keener, Evan Rachel Woods, Rachel Roberts, Jay Mohr, Pruitt Taylor Vance, Jason Schwartzman, with special appearances by Winona Ryder and Elias Cotiers. Okay, let's get into some specs. This is the second time the machine has sent us a 2002 this season, and
everyone
I haven't even got the stench of the last bit of 2002 off of me yet.
I mean, for how much people were talking about never forgetting back then, we made a lot of forgettable movies in that year.
Do you want to guess how many theaters this was released to?
I mean, the dumbest answer I could make would be that it was released in 2002 theaters because of how 2002 this movie is.
You're not far off.
Okay, I'm going to say 2,100 theaters.
You are a little over. It's 1,920 theaters.
Oh, okay. All right, the roaring 20s.
Yeah, pretty wide, though it debuts at number 9. This is, so far, the lowest debut of the movies we've done so far.
But it just skyrocketed up the charts, didn't it? It just went blazing up the box office. People had Simone fever.
Well, let's look what it was up against. In its second week, this one, since it's coming in at number 9, I feel like I have to go through the entire top 10. So bear with me.
Buckland, we have no time to waste, people.
No, well, I mean, this is going to get you like a full meal of 2002.
A meal you will forget eating.
You're just going to be reliving August 23rd, 2002. Number 1 in the box office in its second week, Triple X.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Big ol' whiff of 2002.
Number 2 in the box office in its third week, Signs.
Oh, man. I screamed so loud when that alien came out from behind that car, and my dad got so mad at me, he made me quit watching the movie.
He got mad at you for reacting to a movie?
They were just like, my parents were already kind of on edge because it was a tense scene, and then the alien comes out, and they kind of like jumped, but I actually shrieked because I was a little soft boy, and they were so startled that my dad was just like, Truman, just go get on the internet, go into your room or something.
Oh man, I was kind of wishing it was in the theater, but
oh no, heavens no, they wouldn't take me to a theater for that. Continue, please.
Okay, number 3, the surprise hit of the year, I think, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, which was in its 7th week.
Wow, and the franchise continues to this day. There was a Big Fat Greek movie like a year or two ago. Not a Simone sequel, but
no.
More
Though,
weddings.
Where is it? I feel like we're ripe for a Simone sequel.
Oh boy, we're going to talk about it. Give me more numbers from the box office, quick.
When we were last in 2002 talking about Life or Something Like It, I mentioned Spy Kids 2 because it stars the Shaloub. That comes in at number 4 in its 5th week. Blue Crush. I have a feeling the machine is gonna send us back to 2002 to cover that at some point.
Is that movie forgotten? Did we forget?
I think that movie's forgotten. I don't know. I mean, it's not for me to decide. It's for the machine to decide.
I mean, I didn't see it, but I can like, yeah, it's the movie about surfing. Therefore, I don't know. Maybe that. I guess the fact that I can call up nothing else about it, including who is in it, means maybe it was forgotten.
Yeah. Kate Bosworth is in it.
Yes.
Okay, here's something to make the long intro that we did relevant. Coming in number 6 in its 6th week, Austin Powers Gold Member.
Oh yeah. Oh man, that is what a time to be alive. You want to talk about a movie I did see in theaters? There you go.
Yes. Number 7. The next 3, including Simone here, are all new as of August 23rd, 2002. So not a good weekend for new movies starting out.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard to like wrap your brain around back in the day when like blockbuster season didn't encompass the entire year.
Yeah, sure.
Usually throwaway movies were thrown in like January and in August because you were coming out of blockbuster season before award season.
Yeah.
And so these are three new films coming right hot after another. Serving Sarah with Matthew Perry and Elizabeth
Hurley. Yeah.
Yep.
More Austin Powers connections.
Undisputed, which I think was a Wesley Snipes film. And then number 9 is Simone. So all brand new films, August 23rd. And number 10 in its 9th week, which is the longest on this list, The Road to Perdition.
Oh, okay.
A great little film. So, okay, thank you for bearing with the entire box office top 10 of August 23rd, 2002. Here's some more numbers on Simone and how it does. It stayed in theaters for 7 weeks.
Wow.
However, it falls off the box office top 10 entirely by the 2nd week. That's not surprising, coming in at number 9.
Not surprised. People, they needed those extra screens to show more of the big fat Greek wedding, you know?
Yeah. I haven't seen this before. And granted, you know, I'm not super familiar with, like, how many films are charted by the box office rankings every week. But by its 7th week, Simone is still in theaters.
Yeah.
But it comes in number 73, which means there are 73 films. I guess that makes sense when you're taking in, like, you know, revival houses and stuff, repertory theaters. Like, Gremlins is probably doing better than 73rd in the box office any given weekend of the year.
So Simone is conceivably being beaten by, like, Rocky Horror Picture Show at this point.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's fair. Rocky Horror is a better movie than this. Okay, so I'm just trying to think. What are the is it like also like instructional films, like church movies, that are being like we're showing a timeshare presentation that's 60 minutes long at a mall in Iowa, and more people showed up for that than for week 7 of Simone.
Okay, here are just some final numbers about production. It had a estimated $10 million budget. It made just under $9.7 million domestically.
Just almost.
Just almost.
Barely.
And of course, you know, the budget never incorporates marketing. Though I feel like the marketing budget for this might have been $10.
Yeah. I remember seeing 1 or 2 trailers, and that was about. There's more marketing for Simone in the movie Simone than there was for the movie Simone in the real world.
Like, it takes care of itself.
Yeah, exactly. Yo, dog, I heard you like marketing for movies, so I put marketing inside your movie.
So, okay, the international numbers on this were really hard to find. So I don't know exactly. I mean, I could do some math here, but just not having the exact number, I didn't want to. So it was released internationally. It got a total worldwide box office of just over 19.5 million. So roughly 10 million in international sales, so half and half.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting numbers. You don't see that a lot, or we haven't at least yet on the machine.
You know, this is just me shooting from the hip, and it's a real dumb observation. So buckle up, everybody. You're going to hear someone say a dumb thing. Maybe this movie did well overseas because it's a really European-y movie, like in a very it's European in the, this is why it's a dumb observation, everybody.
Okay.
This is okay.
All right.
But like it just has a European art film kind of glaze to it, the way that it looks. All the cars people drive in it are like European. I'm not saying that European audiences are like, oh, there's a Citroen in this movie, I've got to go buy a ticket for this American movie that didn't make a splash. It just like somehow this movie feels like a weird kind of mid-tier French movie.
I feel like it's trying to make fun of that
in
a weird way. And yeah, I can't wait to talk about the humor of this, the satire of this, kind of what all that is. But let's dive in just a second. I want to know, where was this, like, what was your awareness of this movie before we watched it for the machine? When it came out and just in the time since.
So look, this is much like Life or Something Like It. I have very clear, sharp, precise memories of watching this movie with my parents. I don't.
Oh. Okay.
This was a DVD rental from the American Family Video in South Salem, Oregon. That's now like a weird betting parlor or something. I don't know what happened there.
Oh, really? I thought they all turned into selling CBD oils.
You know what? I think they sell CBD oils next door, so it was like it would just be market saturation to have two of them.
God.
But so we rented it, we watched it. I remember liking it, not loving it as a kid. Again, as a pretentious like little kid that I was.
When you say kid, how old do you think you were?
Well, let's see. If this movie was 2002 and we most likely watched it within a few months of release, I was.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, I don't know. Let's call it. I listen to me do math live on air. I'm like, what?
13,
I guess
12, 13,
12 or
14?
13 years old. Yeah, I guess it was probably like 7th.
Okay.
I was probably in 7th grade, I think.
Got it. I didn't know if you watch it right when it came out or, a couple years after.
No. It was not something we came around to way. I mean, like, it was probably within a few months. Like, on the home video release. My family and I, much like most people in America, did not stampede the theaters to see Simone. The numbers will bear that out. But... So I remember watching it. I remember, like, as a little pretentious kid being like, "Oh, this movie has a distinctive look. That's impressive to me." And the main thing that I remember, much like with Life or Something Like It, how seared into my brain is Tony Shalhoub asking for a down jacket. My mom saying like, "That's too warm of a jacket for Seattle's climate." In Simone, there is a scene where Al Pacino is standing on a beach and a man hands him a package and he opens it up and there's a hard drive inside. And I will forever remember him doing that, and my father, who works in the tech industry, going like, "You shouldn't open the hard drive on the beach. The sand could get in it. It'll corrupt all the data." I hope that I'm painting a picture for everyone of how I turned out to be the type of person I am by the things that upset my parents about movies that came out in the past.
That is amazing. Wow.
Yeah. So that's my strongest memory, is my dad being worried about how the hard drive was being treated. How about you? Is this the one movie you haven't seen from that time period?
No, it is not. I feel like, okay, before having watched it for this episode, maybe not, but now that we've just watched it, I can maybe talk about this film for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
There's no way of getting around, not being able to get to everything I want to discuss today.
Yeah.
Which is disappointing to me, but I will just keep it short and say I saw this in the theater. I owned this on DVD.
Whoa. Wait. We haven't had one you owned yet, have we?
Yeah. Oh, have we?
I don't think
Maybe not. Maybe not yet. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
You didn't buy Tarzan. Yeah, go on.
No. Well, I did. Yeah, I bought it from used bookstore for the show.
Okay. That's a business expense. It's fine. Continue.
Yeah. So, how many times did I watch it on DVD is a good question. I don't know. Probably not much. I had my collection was growing at the time.
Certainly.
I worked at Sam Goody.
You were stealing from Sam
store.
Goody.
It was. It appealed to me in some way. There was a point at which I would have maybe claimed Pacino to be my favorite actor. Definitely not now, but where I might have revisited it a few times. I think like you had mentioned this during the Life or Something Like It episode, where I, not as a kid, but as a 20-some-year-old, going, wow, this is so mind-blowingly like nuanced and not your average Hollywood bullshit, man.
Yeah.
So how many times did I watch it? I don't know. Let's say I've seen it 3 times before the show.
I'm trying to picture what kind of like frame of mind or what type of night you are having in like 2014, trying to decide on a movie to watch, and it's like, you know what? I'm gonna throw on Simone. Like this is like not a movie.
Here's the thing. By 2014. 2007, I think Blu-rays started coming out.
Oh my
so
God.
There's only a 5-year period of owning this film. Once I went to Blu-ray, I'm like, I can't watch these muddy-looking DVDs again.
You pull out the old DVD player, you plug it in, you're like, I must watch Simone. I must see all of my favorite actor Al Pacino's films. And you specifically dust off the DVD player for Simone and then watch it, and you're like, oh, maybe not quite worth the effort of finding the DVD player.
The thing is, this movie was never released on Blu-ray, so outside of watching it streaming, you can't see it in high def.
Which is, honest, kind of a shame. A little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of a shame. Because it looks good.
Yeah. Yes. Does it? I don't know. Why? Okay, I'm just... gonna start just one simple question. I'm gonna burn right out the gate.
Yeah.
Why was 2002 so green?
Well, it's green or it's yellow or it's
green
dark
or
blue.
yellow. Yeah, it's like The Matrix and Steven Soderbergh set the tone for what films are going to look like for the next 10 years.
And Simone was like, hey, let's do both. Some scenes green, some scenes yellow. How do I feel today? Yeah, I feel like this is definitely all just sort of downstream of like, well, The Matrix was really big and every scene had a specific color palette applied to it. So maybe that's the secret to making lots of money in Hollywood, is just making we know that audiences have color palette fever, so let's, give them their medicine.
Or is this film making fun of those films? I can't tell. I am so, like, there are aspects of this film that I will be contemplating maybe for the rest of my life.
Yes, absolutely. This movie is a rich text, which I realize I've said about probably half of our movies, but usually I'm kind of doing it tongue-in-cheek. In this case, tongue fully out of my cheeks. I mean this.
It's wagging in front of his face.
Yes, it is spraying spit onto my pop shield for my microphone, which I am wondering if there's a way I can wash. I think, this movie is not good, but it has so many fascinating and interesting parts, and I think that this movie is the ultimate put on in the background at a party with the sound off movie. It is far more so than 54. Because this movie is I think it has a lot
What kind of party are you having? Maybe we need to ask that.
This everyone's got their masks and their cloaks on. The blindfolded piano player is playing.
And is this the same party where you make everyone watch Boogie Nights for 3 hours?
Yes, exactly.
Like as you're getting the masks and the cloaks on, Simone is playing silently in the background, and then you all come and sit down in a church-like state to watch Boogie Nights for 3 hours silently with each other.
I don't know that Simone is the optimal warm-up for Boogie Nights necessarily.
No, it's not.
A very austere and sexless movie that is taking you right into a movie about cocaine and doing it. This movie, as a collection of images, interesting, well-composed shots, and, stylish props, like shiny, black, unique-looking old European cars, or like, CRT televisions with car phones in the back of a limousine, people wearing long leather coats.
You don't see a lot of comedies with extreme wide shots.
No.
With the character dwarfed by the landscape.
You don't. You don't. It's...
You do here.
Yeah. Well, here on this podcast where we only talk about extreme widescreen comedies.
If you look up in the sky and close your eyes and squint really, really hard, you might see us floating around in the background somewhere.
We'll do some exaggerated shtick to give you a sense of what it's like watching some of the physical comedy scenes in Simone. Look, I had an epiphany that sort of helped me get my arms around what Simone is, and that I think might provide our opening salvo.
I'm ready.
I believe that Simone is the Hudsucker Proxy's Wario. Mic drop.
I need further explanation. I'm not rejecting that idea. I just need further illustration.
Wouldn't it be funny if I didn't have anything else and I was just like, no, that's all you get. I'm not going to elaborate.
That would be a very Wario thing to do.
I'm twirling my mustache right now, getting on my go-kart and zipping away.
No, you don't get context.
So, I think that Simone is kind of like the evil photo negative of the Hudsucker Proxy. A film directed by the Coen brothers in 1994. If you've listened to other podcasts we've made, you've heard me talk about it for probably 70% of the run of the podcast. So, both the Hudsucker Proxy and Simone are irreverent fairy tales that poke fun at American institutions. So, Hudsucker Proxy, it's big business, and for Simone, it's Hollywood. And both films operate on this sort of madcap dream logic that isn't really supposed to make sense. It isn't really supposed to be super realistic. It's kind of like a parable. Both films are very heavily stylized visual feasts. They have, a really distinctive look to them. Both are movies that feature a protagonist who has a big dream and struggles with the pressure of success when his dream comes true.
Uh-huh.
Both films are scored by Carter Burwell, and there's a section in Simone where they're spoiler alert doing a funeral for Simone, and the kind of funeral dirge that plays on the soundtrack sounds almost identical to a lot of the really dark and grim scenes in the Hudsucker Proxy. The main difference between the two movies, though, is that the Hudsucker Proxy, the protagonist is a gullible fool who gets plunged into this world of cutthroat cynics in corporate America, rising to the top of this big corporation, launching his major product. Whereas in Simone, the protagonist is a cutthroat cynic in a world of gullible fools. And
wow,
what makes the Hudsucker Proxy a better movie is that it's fun to watch a kind of gullible fool rise to the top and triumph over the cynics, but watching Simone, where a cynic triumphs over a world of gullible fools, it's like, well, I mean, yeah, everyone you're trying to put one over on is really dumb and believes the most ridiculous lies that you tell them, so it's like I'm not mega invested in your quest. It's like watching, like, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar play basketball against a 5-year-old. It's like, well, you know who's gonna win here.
I mean, for how annoying I find 5-year-olds, I would kind of want to watch him dunk on them.
I mean,
so there's an audience for everything, is what I'm saying.
I guess, I don't know. I mean, listen, I also find small children to be annoying at times, but I also find basketball and all sports pretty off-putting as well. So it's a real toss-up what I'd rather watch more.
Okay, I'm. You can continue. I just want to say I'm on board with this.
Yes.
This is a revelation to me in a movie that I have whiplash from revelations about. And I like this more than the kind of Jacob's Ladder scenario, which, that's not this podcast. That's How Did This Get Made? They do that all the time. But there is a sort of sense of, how can these people be so gullible? Oh, he's losing his mind, and that's not the movie we're watching, but in the reality, like, that's what's actually happening.
Yeah.
I'm more willing to take the film for the text it presents and the theory you're putting forth here of what this actually is, because that's more interesting and more challenging.
I think that there's so much in this movie that, like, again, it being so stylized and so much a fable, like, you can pick apart the whole thing of, like, well, wait, why is it that, like, the only movies that exist in this world are unwatchable art films that look like cologne ads? Like, and it seems like,
right.
It seems like these completely inscrutable art films are the biggest movies in America, and everybody goes to see them. Like, which, I mean, you can say, like, oh, that's not realistic, but I think that's actually, like, I'm willing to buy that and believe that is the world of the movie. It's just that even the world this movie has constructed makes no sense, even if you take that sort of stuff for granted.
I'm very glad that you went there right out the gate, because there is a version of today's episode that we do where we pick this apart and go, what's the deal with this?
Yes.
Where I think it's important to highlight the tone of the film is not interested in plot holes.
No.
Like, if you start to pull on the thread of this movie, not only the film comes apart, but, like, your own existence starts to unravel to a degree.
Yes.
And so there are moments where I need to highlight certain things and ask what's really going on here.
Of course.
But I want to state up front, when I do that, it's not to criticize this film for not for having a lack of reality. Just like, what exactly is it that I'm supposed to take away or assume is happening in this scenario?
Yes.
Particularly when it comes to some of the things that he does in acting out, or how Simone works, really.
Yes.
Which isn't. It's simultaneously, like, given a lot of space, but then the specifics of it, which you don't really question in the moment, aren't given a lot of space. And so if you think about it too hard, it starts to become a weird logic puzzle.
I mean, the way that the movie presents a lot of this is, it's a lot of him talking to studio executives talking to other actors in his movies and kind of explaining, like, okay, you guys are going to shoot your parts separately, and Simone is, she's very reclusive and she's got agoraphobia, and she'll shoot her part separately, and we're going to edit her in opposite you guys. And everyone going like, oh my, I'm just so excited to be working with Simone. Simone is so amazing. Oh, Simone. And so much of the movie is everyone in the world saying, oh my god, Simone is incredible, I'm obsessed with Simone, I was going through a hard time in my life, and seeing Simone in this movie, changed everything. And there's like, from the release of the first art film that he puts Simone in, like, the movie comes out, standing ovation for the movie at the premiere. Next thing you know, he's pulling up to the studio, and there are crowds of people outside the studio carrying signs that say, we love Simone.
I feel like let's get into just a few scenes here to build this out a little bit, and then, because I feel like the bullet points of this don't really do justice what this film's trying to do.
Yes.
And there are questions I want to ask that I feel like we need context for before we go into it. So let's just let's pick apart or expand upon, go deeper into your synopsis, and talk about the large swaths of, like, pre-Simone, post-Simone, and that transition period of finding and creating Simone.
Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. I was going to get us Post Malone tickets for your anniversary, but I typed something in wrong. We're going to see Post Simone. I thought it was weird that they were so cheap.
And she only does one song.
Yes, yeah, and Al Pacino is in this room at the back, and he's only ever in there when she's singing.
Oh my god, the concert scene kind of broke my brain, but
yes.
We'll get there in due time.
Yes.
So you mentioned in the synopsis, we start out, so Adagio for Strings starts swelling up as the New Line Cinema's logo, and this time it is New Line Cinema.
Yeah, I know. You try to do stolen New Line valor with some other movies in the past.
As the credits start to rise, and we see this very... Okay, so we see, like, a shot of a pier, almost like a causeway between, this rocky road going between
tasty
two waterways, and Winona Ryder, runs out on it and looks back, and Jay Mohr is there and yelling, and then it cuts to this wide open, cavernous space with a bed with draping.
Like a 4-poster bed with the thing over the top.
Yeah. What do you call that tent thingy? It looks like a mosquito tent, but it's, fancy.
Production probably bought a mosquito net to make it look like a, gossamer curtains.
Yeah. And, Jay Mohr is approaching Winona Ryder, who's dying. Oh, you hear a gunshot on the pier as well. And so she's dying in this bed, and, the score is swelling at this point. It's supposed to be very emotional. And Winona Ryder, like, can't get through her line, and she quickly ruins the take and says she can't do this, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And then begins a scene. I'm just gonna encapsulate all this at once, which is then Winona Ryder's like, I don't understand the script. She's kind of walking out on Al Pacino, and Al Pacino's there picking out red Mike and Ike's out of her dish, and
it's her contract writer. There can't be any red Mike and Ike's in the in the dishes.
So she's walking out on him, and she's like, I don't understand this. I was supposed to have the biggest trailer. I don't have the biggest trailer. This isn't working for me. No one understands this stupid thing. So, okay, there's a lot to unpack here. So let's pause there for a second.
Okay.
And I want to talk about the film that we're seeing being made.
Yeah, which is Sunrise Sunset is the name of Taransky's movie.
The name of the film. Now, you said it looked like a cologne ad.
Yes.
What is odd to me, and like from point one, I can't quite get a bead on what this is satirizing, because it almost feels like it's using shorthand to go, this is artsy, pretentious, kind of foreign subtitle-y, movie.
Yeah.
This is a Bergman film.
Yeah.
But it's not, though. I mean, maybe I'm being pretentious about the pretentious joke, which is like, I love Ingmar Bergman, so I know what his films are like. This feels like he's doing a joke of what Saturday Night Live would do a joke of.
Yeah.
Like, it feels further removed than just doing the joke.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to just throw that down. And the second movie that we see, we only see two, I think.
Yeah.
Minus I Am Pig, which comes in much later in the film. But Eternity Forever is the second one.
Yeah.
And even these names for his films, at another time we get a title called Straw God.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are all kind of Tarkovsky-esque, sorts of
Taransky-esque, in fact.
What's your take on the film within a film?
I mean, my take on it truly is, it's like, if you just took these images and then just put, A New Fragrance by Estee Lauder on top of them, they would fit in completely. They are kind of moody and abstract. The second one, Eternity Forever, the only scene we get is just like her saying something cryptic, like, I was always just running from myself. She has kind of a southern accent in the second one, and then she gets in a car and drives away. They're on like the LA aqueduct where they shot the end of Buckaroo Banzai, where they're all walking around. Which also, that same location is used in one of Andrew Niccol's previous films, Gattaca, where there's like a conversation. So he likes that spot, which I mean I do too.
It's a cinematic place. Isn't T2 also shot partly there?
I think maybe some of it is there. I mean, look, it's
a
just
car chase.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the LA flood control channels are practically a character in so many movies. But she gets in the car, she drives away, the car fades out of existence, and it's the movies, I think, are intended to us to look laughably cryptic out of context, but it's like the biggest satire that it seems to be going for is kind of like, his movies are a little bit up their own ass, but what I read in one of the reviews of this movie is that this is a satire of Hollywood that is just really got the kid gloves on. They are very, very gently satirizing themselves. I mean, this is Andrew Niccol, a man who has made a bunch of really stylized, glossy, cool-looking movies, kind of poking very gentle fun at a guy who makes stylized, glossy, cool-looking movies.
So you think it's self-referential?
I think a little bit. I mean, I don't know if you learned the same bombshell about Andrew Niccol that I did in the research process about how life imitates art.
Yes. Well, let's talk about him real quick. He was still fairly new to Hollywood, at least, at this point. He's a New Zealand guy who got into doing commercials in London.
Yeah.
Gattaca was his first credit, which he wrote and directed. But his first script, which got him... You're going to roll your eyes. I know this is a traumatic... traumatic connection for you, but his first kind of calling card around Hollywood was he wrote the script for The Truman Show.
Yep. Got a free one in, everybody.
It's everyone thank Andrew Niccol for Truman's childhood trauma.
Yes.
So that kind of put him on the map in a big way. The Truman Show, even though it's his second credit, he didn't, direct it or produce it or anything, but it got him an Academy Award nomination.
Yeah.
So
rightfully,
with the kind of acclaim he got from Gattaca and the, award, attention he got from The Truman Show, I see why he was given the opportunity to go, oh, okay, you've got an idea, a $10 million idea. Like, we'll invest in you enough to give you $10 million to go do a passion project if it means keeping you on as a screenwriter for some of our other big stuff. Because he would go on to, pen the Steven Spielberg film The Terminal and, other, big Hollywood fare.
At the time that Simone was coming together, he had this reputation as, this is the guy who will make a very stylized science fiction movie with kind of retro aesthetics that opens up some deeper questions about technology and media and humanity, which both Gattaca and The Truman Show did fairly effectively.
And then, I don't think we need to make it a thing. They're still married. They have kids together. But interesting. Just interesting.
Okay, well, I mean, I think you glossed over the main point there, which is that after making this movie, you know, he cast Rachel Roberts to play Simone, the incredibly beautiful woman who the entire world falls in love with, who is a creation of the director of the movies. Then Andrew Niccol married Rachel Roberts like a year after this movie came out, and they had a couple kids together, which is also ridiculous given that the end of this movie is Taransky marrying Simone, quote unquote, and having a quote unquote baby with her. You know, I mean, no shade at all. I wish them all the best in the world. It's just funny that how that played out.
Yeah, exactly. And you say gloss over. I say I was setting you up.
Oh, hey, thank you so much. I appreciate you teeing me up for a perfect shot.
Well, okay, while we're at it, let's just talk about Rachel Roberts as well, because this is her first film credit, and most of her other stuff comes in Andrew Niccol's other films. She was a fashion model. I think still works in the fashion industry to some degree. And as far as I can see, her and Andrew Niccol are still together. I think they have 2 kids now. So, you know, whatever happened on the set to ignite their passion for each other, it's still going strong. So, well, I can't say that. They're still together. I don't know anything about it. I'm not going to talk about their personal lives.
But
it has no bearing on today's conversation.
Much like the paparazzi in this movie, you've been camped outside their house looking through the windows of the binocular, and I can tell that their marriage is still going quite well. I mean, and in the promotional process for this movie too, they really buried Rachel Roberts' name. They didn't because they were trying to create this air of mystery similar to what's going on in the movie of like, who is Simone? Is it a real person? Did they make a computer lady for the movie? And then they only started crediting her after release and everything like that. So yeah, which is a pretty big gamble for an actor, especially an actor trying to get established in her first role. It's like, oh, so I'm gonna play the title character, and you're not going to publicize my name until after the movie is out.
But that's the thing. Like, as an actor, like they did the same thing for Blair Witch, where they're like, okay, kids, you just go silent for a bit. What is more striking to me about this is she was a fashion model. So, like, her image was already around. That's what her livelihood is on. So by going with this gambit to say, is she not computer generated in real life, it makes you question her work as a fashion model.
Yeah.
That seems like a more dangerous thing to, you know, play at.
Another kind of case of this movie coming up to the edge of some really profound questions and then deciding not to ask them.
Well, okay, let's circle back to the question that we started this with, which was, you know, what is this satirizing? Like, I guess it's worth starting to talk about the tone and the humor of this movie, because it's a comedy, kinda. It's a dramedy-ish. It's a drama of sorts.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, the same way Taco Bell's meat is meat.
It's not like, if this were a straight out comedy or a different type of comedy, maybe I don't want to draw such strict lines on these things, but like these opening shots of the film within a film would be very clearly, this is, you know, the joke we're making. You know, I'm thinking, I don't know why this is the first thing came to my mind, but like the Naked Gun 33 1/3, I think it is. They call to the Untouchables with the Odessa Steps, which is, you know, the Eisenstein reference on a reference on a reference. But like, you know, when you're watching
down the stairs, yes.
Yeah, you know, when you're watching Naked Gun that it's referencing this very popular movie that was out, you know, a year or 2 or 3 before, that was also referencing, you know, silent cinema. But like, you would get what the joke is. Yeah. Here, the joke is obscured in a way that's like not, and maybe that's the difference between satirization and parody. Like, this isn't a parody of anything, but it is satirizing the kind of up your own ass artistic merit that defines Viktor Taransky's journey, I guess, throughout this film.
Yeah. It's sort of, I think, early on in these early scenes where he is just, his movie has been thwarted by this tempestuous leading lady, and he's complaining about how, you know, oh, in the old days, the studio system had so much control over actors, we could make them change their names if we wanted to, and he's like, ranting
let's
about
dive
that.
into the scene.
Yeah.
Because Winona Ryder walks off, and Catherine Keener comes scooting over on the
golf cart.
the lot golf cart. She is the owner of the studio, or at least she runs the studio.
She's the head of the studio, and she's his
head of the
ex-wife.
studio. Oh God, yeah. And I got a quote I want to bring out in a second, but she's like, okay, listen, your last 5 movies have all lost money. Your star has walked off of this film. We're shutting it down. I'm canceling your contract. One of the only instances in this film where it's a like yeesh exposition dump where he kind of in his Al Pacino hangdog kind of way, puts his arms up on the top of the golf cart while he's talking, where it goes, "Geez, it's not every day you're fired by the mother of your child." We're like, okay, well, we had to establish that.
Yep, the easiest way to do it.
But I want to talk a little bit about their opposing ideas, because they're not super explicit about this, but I've watched this twice now for this, and kind of was paying attention the second time. It seems like they're both, I mean, I had questions about it the first time, which made me like note to pay attention to the dialogue the second time.
I thought you were just saying you only paid attention to the movie on the second watch through.
No.
It seems like a skill issue, dog.
No. Well, it seems like they were both like passionate New York filmmakers.
Yeah.
Maybe as a team, and they both came out to Hollywood together. Again, none of that is explicit, but it seems like Catherine Keener was the one that was able to adapt to the Hollywood style, while Viktor Taransky, Al Pacino, is still holding on to that. He mentions John Cassavetes at one point, which is the biggest New York auteur of them all, in the independent scene. And so it seems like he's still holding on to films are art. We should be in the art making business, not the filmmaking business, or the business of filmmaking. We're in the artistry of making films.
I agree with that, and I think this is where the movie sort of undercuts itself and makes it hard to satirize itself, because it's like, yes, the studio is pulling the plug on his movie. They're going, even though they've shot all the footage with this actress and the movie is basically done, they're going to shelve it because the actress will sue if they use any of her stuff. So, he's got this whole thing about how, the business is stifling my art, but then we don't see that is being done so the studio can release, like, a superhero movie or a slasher movie or something dumb. It seems like this studio has invested pretty lavishly in producing a number of very inscrutable art films. So, the argument that the commerce is squashing art, which is something that I agree with, is not really in evidence here. This studio seems pretty damn chill about his process.
That's the interesting thing, and I can't say if it would be better, like if it's lacking or not, because I don't feel like it would be appropriate to see what is being released instead of his film, because I feel like it would go too broad at that point.
Maybe so.
But at the same time, this is it's shot on the Paramount backlot, which I've spent some time on myself.
Same.
But this is a fictional production company or studio called Amalgamated Pictures, or Film Pictures or something like that. But I flagged another quote here that I think highlights the type of humor in this, because this is like, if you read this, it reads real funny.
Sure.
But as it's performed, everything is just kind of a little tossed off, and not in a bad way. Just that's the what they're going for.
The movie is very cold and aloof. It's all kind of at a remove. So even if funny stuff is happening, the way it's being shown to you, it's kind of like, am I supposed to laugh at this, or am I in a museum right now? Am I looking at a weird vase?
The aloofness is intentional, which makes it a paradox in a weird way. Because here's the quote, a joke that they wrote in this scene, where he's trying to defend himself against Catherine Keener, and said, 2-time nominated, Viktor Taransky, and she goes, "Those were short subject."
Yeah,
it's not like delivered as a joke, but on paper it's really funny.
Yeah.
It's delivered as just actual characters interacting with each other, dialogue, not set up punchline. Just like, here's our interaction, and this is what's happening.
Yeah, it's just sort of said and moved on from, even though it is like, yeah, it's funny. This guy, this notion that Viktor Taransky might not actually be that, like, hot shit of a director. Like, he might... Like, this movie never interrogates the idea that maybe this guy sucks. Like, maybe his movies aren't good because we have no barometer for what an actual good movie is.
Well, here's the other thing, because this is another, like, opening thing that I think there are elements of this throughout the film that we can just touch on now and bring up if necessary later, where Viktor Taransky is the artiste, right?
Yes.
But, like, the you're going to have to really stop me from going into my auteur theory thoughts in this episode, but
you've been dribbling it out bit by bit over the series.
I know. This is this is the cautionary tale. But to like really show how far he's willing to go, like, he's picking through the Mike and Ikes to remove all the director, the writer-director of this movie is picking out the Mike and Ikes of Winona Ryder's thing. This backlot, this studio, there's no one around.
Yeah.
I mean, it's empty.
Yeah.
And it creates this weird, like, almost uncanny valley thing where it's like a kind of dreamlike. You've been on movie studios. I've been on movie studio lots. They're bustling.
Yeah, there's a million people.
There's people everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, the director of the movie is not the one who is seeing to the Byzantine demands of the leading lady's contract. That is what production assistants are for. That is the kind of shit I have done. Me
too.
Yeah, it was me who was once scraping candle wax off the floor of Jamie Kennedy's bedroom. Like that. Like, PAs are there to do these shit things that celebrities ask for.
I have delivered the wrong Subway sandwich to Joey Fatone.
Yeah, exactly. But it wasn't the director of the project delivering the wrong sandwich to him. Simone suggests that movies in this world, like, if you are a motion picture director, you do everything. You have no crew. It is only you.
But that's what's weird about this movie is, like, it's not populated.
No.
The world of it is not populated.
Yeah.
Except for the people that need to make an imprint on the story.
Yes.
Even audience-wise, like, there are a few instances with people watching his films, and it's like 5 audience members.
Yeah.
And there's a close-up shot of all of them reacting. There's no, like, it's not a filled audience. There's one shot, and maybe the Oscar scene are the only 2 things that I can think of where there's an actual audience and people are watching it. But
like, there are crowds, there are hordes, there are masses of people who are looking for Simone. There are crowds of reporters who are trying to photograph Simone. There are masses of fans, but they're always in aggregate.
And there's no, like, he's doing press releases too. I can't even remember. Maybe in 2002 it was different, but, like, I can't remember a press, not press release. What am I thinking of?
Public statements.
Yeah, like, he's standing up on a podium talking to a group of, reporters.
Yeah, it's like the president.
Like he's the sheriff.
Yeah, no, it's like the president doing a briefing. Everyone is no further questions.
But there's nothing. So they are in aggregate, but there's nothing around them. There's no security. There's no, like, cars. There's no. It's just, like, 20 seats sat in front of a podium on a blank backlot, and the only people in it are the people sitting in the chairs and Al Pacino at the podium. It's kind of weird.
It's weird, and it's a definite stylistic choice, and it gives the movie a distinctive look. I think it works against the movie in a lot of ways, but viewed with the sound off while you're putting on your robes and masks to get ready for my screening of Boogie Nights, like, if you just catch a glimpse of, like, this completely empty studio lot and Al Pacino, like, talking to, like, 10 reporters sitting on chairs, it's like, oh, that's striking. That looks like an album cover or something.
Agreed. Yeah.
Something else that I want to call out from these early scenes, and then we should probably get into, like, more meat, is part of why this movie has sort of become a little relevant is because, it's about creating a virtual actor, and there was just the Screen Actors Guild strike last year over the concept of creating AI actors, virtual actors who wouldn't have to be paid. And what I feel like is so interesting is that in the strikes last year, the whole thing was writers and actors and all the creatives united against studios that were going to create actors so that they could profit. And in this movie, Taransky wants to basically use AI type technology to further a creative vision. Like the way that,
Okay.
because he is talking, he's ranting to her and he's saying, that movie stars, they're mocking us, we're at their mercy. We always had movie stars, but they used to be our stars. We used to be the ones who told them what to do. Like it's just this interesting look at it where it's not the evil technology is not being used by the studio to get rich. It's being used by a megalomaniacal, wow, I got that on the first go, creative trying to pursue a ridiculous vision.
Okay, let's go into this because it's one of my biggest questions of the movie, and I think where I struggle with this film the most, which is what exactly is Pacino's deal in this movie? What is it that Viktor Taransky wants? And it starts in this scene with Catherine Keener, and we haven't even talked about the creation of Simone yet, but holy shit. Okay, so he laments that the film industry has lost its touch in creating meaningful stories. The glitz and glamour is overtaking the artistry. He still thinks he's an artist and wants full control, over the vision of a film. And he creates Simone to prove a point.
Yeah.
What is his point?
His point is that his movie would be good if there were a good actor in it, right? Presumably, like if there were an actor who would do it.
I think this is where the movie fails in the ways that it does. Is that I think he's setting out to prove I'm going to use a fake actress, and you're going to see how fake it is. I'm going to show you how fake you all are by using. If you want fake, I'm going to give you fake. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't ever play that way.
I think it's really as simple as like I would be more successful if actors would just shut up and listen to every single thing I want them to do, and then he is proved correct by creating a virtual actor and is rewarded for his horrible ideas.
Just that one little scene, I think, for me, is missing to go, this is not playing out the way I thought it was going to play out. I wanted to prove a point, and you proved the opposite point, and now I don't know what to do with that.
Certainly things get out of control with Simone as the movie goes on, but you never really get that full petard hoisting of like, oh, I was trying to do one thing and this other thing happened. I've learned my lesson. It's basically just... It's hijinks, sitcom slapstick hijinks for a couple hours.
Well, this is where this movie is different from other movies of big technology like this, which is at no point does Simone go haywire.
Exactly.
Nothing goes wrong with Simone.
Precisely.
Ever.
Boom.
And I'm not saying it needs to. We've seen that movie 100 times, but what I don't feel like I'm getting the inverse scene of that to go, well, wait a minute, what am I supposed to do with this thing going right all the time? I didn't expect the amount of success that this is bringing me.
Yes. Roger Ebert made kind of the same point in his review, which is just like, well, okay, it's an interesting premise. You've got this virtual actress, but then nothing it's not like, oh, she doesn't become self-aware. Oh, she doesn't glitch out and do something crazy. And he says yeah, there's a million hackneyed ways this could go, but this movie doesn't really go in any of those directions at all. She is just endlessly obedient. She is a head on a screen in an empty room who just says whatever he tells her to say, and even
that's it too, where the technology gets a little weird in that she sometimes says what he tells her to say, but other times he has to speak as her through a microphone, like he's acting out what she's doing.
Yes.
So that part is a little weird, but I want to just touch on what you just said of this is, and I think you can read very little about this and still get their intention to be a little bit of a nod to Frankenstein.
Sure.
And just in his name, Victor.
What if Frankenstein was hot? Let's see what happens.
Well, it's not. What if Frankenstein was hot and didn't turn on his creator? Like, what if Frankenstein was hot and, like, went out there and worked it for him and made him rich and famous?
And what if instead of coming with torches and pitchforks, the peasants were all like, fuck yeah, Frankenstein, you're cool as hell, we love you. Take a selfie with me, Frankenstein. What if only good things happened in Frankenstein?
He's saving little girls from drowning.
Yeah, exactly.
He's building more windmills.
Yeah.
He goes to the Antarctic to explore, not to be exiled. Well, let's get into talking about Simone. I mean,
yes.
Let's talk about Hank and the first kind of scenes that Al Pacino has with the interface of Simone.
Yeah, so Al Pacino has been shit-canned by his ex-wife. He's kicked off the lot. He's getting things loaded away, and he gets accosted by this kind of...
He's stealing his film from the lot.
Okay, the movie never makes clear that this is actual theft. Like, and true to form that there are no assistants or anything, it would make sense that this big-time director is just doing the, shall I say, grunt work of lifting, physically moving all of his stuff out and putting it in his car. Yeah. But he's accosted by this weird one-eyed man who, it turns out, is this kind of disgraced tech titan who had this idea for making virtual actors and got booed off stage at a tech conference years ago. But he, says, Victor, I'm dying of eye cancer because I sat too close to the screen. Here's this, I have this idea for this simulated actor. And basically, shortly thereafter, this guy dies, and in his will, he leaves this hard drive to Viktor Taransky, which he opens foolishly on the beach outside his Malibu house. Sand could get in the hard drive. My father is hooting and hollering and throwing things at the walls. No, hardly. He would never do that. But anyway, he then, he loads the hard drive into the hard drive slot of his computer, and this super advanced AI technology version of a virtual beautiful woman loads up on his screen with all of the UI built out, and then it's just like, and we basically cut to 9 months later, and he has then used this technology self-taught to put Simone in his movie and release it.
9 months.
9 months. Oh,
because birth, get it?
Oh, yeah.
She's being born. 9 months.
Okay. This movie has levels.
Point to your head.
Yeah.
So, like, this is the level of, like, don't pull on the plot hole threads too much, because it's like, if you start to question, like, oh, okay, he has to finish his film, but this is a studio-funded picture, so they own it.
Yes.
Even if he steals it, can he finish it legally? Like, I don't think that's the case here.
And
the movie doesn't really want us to ask those questions. It's not interested in those.
And we shouldn't be asking them, but also it's like, okay, even say that he does finish the stolen movie and the notoriously chill movie studio is like, oh, that's fine, we're not going to sue you. Who's going to distribute the movie?
Right.
Is he just, like, driving to every theater in America with one film canister and going like, hey, show this? Yeah. It's an art film. It's very inscrutable. This is my Al Pacino impression. She's got a great big ass. But yes, he makes the movie. He releases it. Simone, who is naturally unknown, like, her name is above the title on the billing. Also, no last name, just Simone.
Yeah, single word. She's a share. What's the name? What's the word for that when you're one named?
Mono
something.
Yeah, mono something. I don't know. Look it up at home, folks. We're not that kind of podcast. But then immediately, just instantly, Simone is a huge star. Mononymous. Simone is immediately Taylor Swift Eras Tour level of fame, and minute one from just, she played the lead in this weird art movie, and now every human being on Earth is obsessed with her.
First of all, just shout out to Elias Koteas. One scene of this film, pivotal role, playing Hank, the tech wizard
guy. Yeah,
love him. Casey Jones, for all you Ninja Turtle heads out there. Zodiac, if you like Zodiac. I mean, he's
all you Zodi heads
in so many fucking things.
Love him.
He's just quality guy.
The Ninja Turtles could have caught the Zodiac killer. That's all I'm gonna say. And then they'd also get into 54 afterwards. I think that what's great about Elias Koteas' performance here is that he represents a Silicon Valley tech bro the way that I want them to be represented, which is this kind of a smelly, weird guy who is ranting in an alleyway, and everyone does not want to be close to because they think he's a crazy, weird freak. More of this.
5 years, he just was in the wrong time. Like, 5 years later, he would have been able to sell this, tech and become a Jeff Bezos and find some sort of, super rich cure for the eye tumor he has that's going to be inoperable and kill him. And then he would be, going to the moon now.
Yes, exactly. He'd be on the moon, but he wouldn't need to colonize it because he's got all of his virtual ladies up there with him. It's like, no, it's just me and all my Simones.
He digs into this a little bit, and more indications of like where this script is trying to play its humor, which is like kind of subversively dad humor, because he's making all these. He's got an eye patch on. Because this, he's lost an eye to this whole thing because he's been staring at the screens forever, and he has a little conspiratorial thing to him. It's like the electro waves coming from the monitor, is the reason I lost my eye.
I don't remember if he said this, but I feel like my dad probably crossed his arms and was like, "Monitors don't do that. That's not real."
But he's a little conspiratorial, and he's like, "You're the only person who can bring this to life. I have, it's science and art coming together." And he makes all these like, you have the one thing that I don't have, an eye for talent, And the weird thing is, like, as he's saying that, in the background, there's a two people, like, you see the cartoons of two people moving a plate of glass. Like, someone's moving a billboard of sorts that just has a giant eyeball on it.
Yeah.
Very subtly.
This is why it's on mute in the background at my weird party. I mean, it's this kind of imagery. It's like, if you have to hear what they're saying around it, it seems less profound. If you just glance at a screen and you see a one-eyed man looking mournfully off camera with a big standee of an eye drifting past behind him, it's that could be anything.
All right, listeners, write in. Let us know if you want to come to my party where I have 54 playing silently in the background, or if you want to go to Truman's weird-ass Simone party. I want to know what everyone's thoughts are.
Both parties are dry. There will be no snacks and no talking. It's just, what movie do you want silently in the background?
But there's also another line here that just, I don't know, it doesn't mean anything. It's probably not worth even talking about, but he just, at one point, he's dived into this idea of Simone and artificial actors and this whole concept. He says the term flesh is weak.
Yeah, cyberpunk like, shit.
He's dying by Videodrome, I think.
he's like the Borg at this point. I have legitimately like shot 15 dudes like this in Cyberpunk 2077, like who have gone mad with their tech implants going crazy, and you're ranting about like the flesh is weak. Who can see beyond this irrational allegiance to flesh and blood?
Okay, I also have some notes I want to talk about after the first film is shown. There's this small window when Pacino is like, I don't know if this is gonna work. He's kind of pacing outside the theater as the first audiences are watching it, and he's like, they're gonna call me a fraud, they're gonna send me to jail, I'm gonna, my career's over. And he goes into the bathroom to like do the patented put my face under the water moment.
The super sanitary bathroom sink at a ratty movie theater.
And three like bros come in.
So many good bros.
And they're all like, oh my god, that was so fake, man.
You expect us to believe that?
Yeah. And Pacino is like walking out going, oh god. He's been found out. And as he exits, we linger on the three dudes for a second. They're like, all those sets are supposed to believe that's medieval England, but who's looking at the sets when she's on screen, huh? And what is so fascinating to me about this is I've never seen on screen before the real world depiction of the no gay urinal between each of the guys. Like, none of them stand next to each other. They all walk in and stand one urinal away from each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they appropriately space themselves out. It's great. This is why it's important to let men direct movies, folks. This is why having men in key production roles where they're so underrepresented, they can get realistic things about male bathroom culture right.
I feel like I need to over-explain what the no gay stall is, but, like, not something I subscribe to, but, like, guys will put a, even I remember going to the theater, probably when I saw this. If I saw this with a friend, we wouldn't have sat next to each other in the theater. We would have put a seat between us. Okay, well that's a little extreme. Listen, there's plenty of reasons aside from, weird masculinity issues to not want to be peeing directly next to another person. Like, there's a variety of reasons for that. It's dumb to put an extra seat between you and your bro. Like, dudes can I mean, I agree.
Listen,
I don't stand next to people at the urinal just because I don't want to stand there for 5 minutes not being able to pee. I just go directly into the stall.
We're talking about the real stuff here on this podcast, folks. These are things that other podcasters would be afraid to admit, but I too would have a difficult time getting going if my bro was directly next to me.
It has nothing to do with anything but time efficiency.
Look, I would say what I was thinking about the bros at the urinal complaining about how unrealistic the set design of the movie was like, this is simultaneously a very unrealistic depiction of what most movie-going audiences are like, and a very accurate depiction of what dudes going to see a movie at the Chinese theater in LA are like, because all three of those dudes are production designers and have not been paying attention to Oppenheimer. They are only looking at, like, well, that car is from 1951. Unrealistic.
Okay, also, I think we need.
I'm sorry, no. One other thing though. Also, I want to highlight this. He's convinced in the bathroom that, like, oh my god, I'm gonna get arrested. I'm gonna go to jail. It's not against the law to put a fake pretty lady in a movie. Like, it's not like
it's fraud.
Is it fraud? You're not.
Well, he claims it is. I bet. I don't know.
Look,
false advertisement. The FCC might get involved on some level.
They didn't send John McTiernan, director of Rollerball, to prison for putting fake people in the movie Rollerball. They sent him to prison for wiretapping a producer. Like, it's like that. There's crimes you can do making a movie, but putting a fake actor in a movie, I'm pretty sure that's not illegal. Again,
what about putting a real person in a movie as a fake person, and then in real life pretending that real person is fake for the marketing purposes of the film?
That is illegal, but there's a loophole. If you marry the person who you put in the movie, they can't testify against you. Andrew Niccol skates and evades the long arm of the law once more.
We have to talk. Okay, now that we've kind of got the scene set, we got to talk about Simone to a degree.
Yes.
We got to talk about the interface. We got to talk about how she's created, what she is, how she works. Where do you want to start with Simone?
So Simone is we've talked about AI a little bit and the concept of the strike, and going into this movie I was very much thinking, like, oh yeah, this is going to be relevant. It's about AI actors. Simone is not AI. That's very clear. Simone does not have thoughts. She is not, like,
she's a facsimile.
She is a mask. She is a very photorealistic, pretty lady who is mainly a big rotating head on a screen, but she has a body that gets kind of, like, generated in a weird ribbony, loopy way when he pushes the button that says generate body. Al Pacino's fucking keyboard in this movie.
Oh my god.
It has a tears button. Oh my god, there's so many keys that he presses that are directly labeled for the exact thing that Simone is doing. There's like a dress button. It's not like Control-Alt-D or something. No, it's a bespoke keyboard specifically for making Simone do shit.
And Hank only gave him a hard drive. Did Al Pacino design this keyboard?
I don't know, because seemingly no one else in the world knows about this technology. No one else in the, like, a key point that we may come back to is that the technology to make a photorealistic virtual woman to modulate Al Pacino's voice and immediately make it sound like a woman's voice,
or sometimes be programmed,
or sometimes you can like record something and have her say it later and do, like, the technology to do this is in existence. It has been developed seemingly not just by Hank, but it's out there in the world. But, like, nobody, not a single solitary soul on Earth besides Hank, seems to know that it exists, seems to know that this technology is within humans' grasp, and the endlessly gullible characters of this movie just never once suspect that something like this is happening. But what Simone is, really, is just a very simple ruse. It's just she's a face of a pretty lady on a screen who says whatever Al Pacino is saying.
Is this what they stole at the beginning of Operation Fortune Ruse de Guerre?
Holy shit.
Is this the programmable AI?
Oh my god, the handle is Simone. It all comes together. I was already seeing connections because, like, Al Pacino speaking into the microphone and having his voice get switched to Simone's in real time is exactly what they do in Operation Fortune to fool billionaire arms dealer Greg Simons.
And, okay, so then at the end of this film, spoiler alert, Simone doesn't get destroyed. I mean, she kind of does, but she comes back, and the next thing... The last moment is her saying she's going to get into politics. Sorry, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler for something we're going to talk about a lot.
She is a hop, skip, and a jump away from shedding the facsimile of this, blonde, actress to become, this politician who could, if you extrapolate that further, could, in theory, become a system for controlling the military and satellites that eventually blow up things in Operation Fortune. And Operation Fortune is also about Hollywood.
So are you saying...
Here's what I'm posing. Yeah. Operation Fortune is the sequel to Simone, and the third in this trilogy is bringing Simone back and starring in a movie with Josh Hartnett, directed by Greg Simmons. Simone 2, directed by, the Dirty Arms dealer.
Simone 2, Ruse de Actress. Listen...
Ruse de Hollywood.
And the other parallel, I mean, it does really make sense that this would be set in the Operation Fortune universe, because the way that everyone in Hollywood is so gullible and so immediately willing to just accept whatever Al Pacino says and not put up any fight, much like all of the guards who Orson Fortune fights in Operation Fortune, who kind of just stand there patiently and let him shoot them or punch them in the balls. Yeah. It's the same as the paparazzi in this movie, who are like, we've seen absolutely no evidence to suggest that Simone exists or has a social security number. There's no fingerprints. There's no strands of hair. She must be hidden somewhere. Very well. That's all it could be. Like, yeah.
Wow.
So I think that explains what Simone is, right? You guys get it.
There
right?
you go.
You understand?
That's what Simone is.
Simone is the handle.
There is a moment where, as Pacino's, he's got her tucked away in a studio hangar, which seems like you could do this from anywhere. What is it? Why do it at home? Why do you risk having everybody come and stumble upon, like, you're filming a movie, you'd expect someone to walk into the hangar at some point to clean, to like scare the rats away. Aren't they on the studio payroll?
This is such
the rat scarers.
Yeah, yes. There's the security guard who he has outside, who he tells not to let anyone in under any circumstances. Yeah. What if the studio catches fire? Let it burn, which is a cool thing to say. It's another example of how chill this studio is. That it's like, Victor, they've cut him off. He makes one movie with Simone in it, and immediately they invite him back and sign him for a new deal. And they give him an entire sound stage to just, like, store a computer in, basically, that he doesn't seem to be using for any other purpose. He is.
It's not that he gets a sound stage. I think that's pretty common if you're getting a movie. It's that there's no oversight.
There's no oversight, but also he's not using the soundstage for anything else. I mean, granted, we never see him actually directing. We never see him making a movie, working with the other actors who he has cast, the real actors. We never see him on a set, but it's like, they've given him a soundstage, but he's not using it for a single thing.
But as he's kind of like exploring the software for the first time, he realizes its potential, and he has a line which I think we've been talking about the humor. There's a sort of dark existentialism to this film.
Oh yeah.
And he, like, the second he recognizes the potential, he goes, I am the death of real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, like, if you take a second to, like, absorb what that means in context of this film, like, that is dark.
It's dark, and also it's not like, oh, I'm the death of real. It's like, hell yeah, I'm the death of real. Like, he's pretty stoked on what he's doing.
I mean, it is the, like, it's alive moment. He recognizes he is God, essentially.
Also, shortly after that, he has a great line that he says. He has a couple of scenes that I think are spectacular, where it's him talking to Simone in this empty room, but then he's having a conversation with Simone where he'll say something, and then he'll grab the microphone and say Simone's response to it, and Simone will repeat the thing he's saying back to him in real time. So I love what this suggests, which the movie does not bear out, but, like, these scenes suggest, oh, this motherfucker has lost his mind completely.
Yes.
20 minutes into the 2-hour movie, we are going to watch shit go nuts.
And we do, but we don't watch it through the lens of him losing his mind, but he has lost his mind, right?
I mean, well, he has, because this movie also has, like, this has so much top-tier Al Pacino doing crazy shit stuff in it. Like, he is... You know, at one point he checks Simone, quote unquote, into a hotel, and the paparazzi are outside, and he's in the room with a Barbie doll and a lamp, running around in front of the curtains to make it look like Simone is going back and forth. He's got, like, a wig, and he's cutting bits of hair off the wig to leave around the room.
He's doing crazy stuff, but I feel like this... All right, how do I say this to not be libelous, but... Pacino in the 90s, particularly the last half of the 90s, particularly in The Devil's Advocate, he is at, like, if you could absorb all of the cocaine at the end of Scarface, that level of energy is what he's putting into his performances by the end of the 90s.
Yes.
This feels like he's coming out of rehab and bringing all of his tools, and he's still lost his mind, but he's more on Prozac than he is on cocaine.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, and, like, I do enjoy his performance in this, and I also at the same time, things he is doing in this movie, he is running around with a Barbie doll doing shadow puppets. He is putting on lipstick and kissing headshots of Simone that he's signing, and then running outside to talk to his wife and daughter, not realizing he still has lipstick on. At one point, he is... in a scene we have to discuss more, he is in his car with a mannequin of a blonde lady with a cell phone glued to her hand in the driver's seat, and he's lying down in the passenger seat trying to steer the car and work the gas pedal on the 405 to fool his wife into thinking that is Simone driving the car, and he is meanwhile having a conversation with his wife as Simone at the same time.
Forget the song and dance number he does in Jack and Jill.
Yeah.
This is the broadest comedy I've ever seen Al Pacino do.
And it's like, and watching these scenes, I'm like, this is crazy, and I just wish they made this movie, like, 5 years earlier, so he was just like, he's doing...
You wanted him cranked up.
I wanted him fully cranked. I mean, I don't know, man. It's I don't know, it's like watching Martin Short in Santa Claus 3 and being like, you could be weirder. You could be doing so much more... Like, this I'm already not super into this movie. Why can I not just get a full meal out of this? You know, why can't I have you... I want the energy that he brings to his conversation with Hank Azaria in Heat. I want him just screaming and yelling and capering.
Well, all right, let's talk for just a very quick second about Al Pacino and where this comes into his career.
Has he been in other movies? Did he have...
He's done a few things.
He had a career before this? Okay.
He did, yeah.
Does he have any kids?
He's... a theater actor. He's from the Stanislavski, method school of the actor studio. He's an icon, obviously. Sure. Godfather, Serpico, Scent of a Woman, Scarface. Like, right out the gate, he was the top tier actor there was.
Yeah.
He takes interesting roles. Like, if you look at his body of work, he's only got, I think, 65 movies. Not a whole lot. So he takes a lot of interesting roles. And balances it with theater. He loves Shakespeare. But here, I would love to see the statistics on the ratio of amount of films people have done versus their Oscar nominations.
Yeah.
So out of 60-some credits, he has 9 Oscar nominations.
Not bad.
With only 1 win.
Scent of a Woman, right?
And I think it's Godfather.
Oh, well. Oh, I've heard that movie's good too.
But I think to your point though, his bombastic performances kind of overshadow his subtler stuff.
Yeah.
Which is coming more in this era. So like, he takes a small hiatus right before this film.
He had to prepare himself to be in Simone. He had to center himself.
Well, in 1997, he does Donnie Brasco and The Devil's Advocate.
It's a good movie.
In 1999, maybe his most unhinged. Devil's Advocate is hard to beat, but if you're going to, Any Given Sunday is up there. And he also does The Insider, which starts to get a little quieter, Michael Mann's film with Russell Crowe. Then he does one small little independent passion project of his, which is called Chinese Coffee. And that's like the end of his millennium. That's all he does right before this movie. But then in 2002, this film is released along with Christopher Nolan's Insomnia.
A movie I like a lot.
And a independent film called People I Know. So, like, he's in a weird place when this movie comes out.
And his role in this, I feel a lot of his character in Insomnia in this. Like, Insomnia, he is very subdued because he is this, like, haunted detective who can't sleep. So he is, like he is low energy in that, and he is falling apart, and it's great. It's a really good performance, and it's a good piece of work. So, this feels of a piece with Insomnia, the kind of just, like, bedraggled and beaten down Pacino.
I think he's pretty big in Insomnia, at least in moments.
Yeah.
When he's going insane from the insomnia, like when he can't get the light out of his room.
Yeah, and
like he's going pretty
piling all the
crazy, which he doesn't quite ever hit that height here.
Yeah.
Anyway, I want to get back to talking about Simone and how she's created to a degree, because this interface, which I'm glad he went through the like deleting the emulation out of simulation and well, I guess he did that, and then it just made Simone. Like, really spelling that out for us.
Yes, her name is Simulation 1. Hank never thought to give an actual name to this robo lady, and so and also I feel like Taransky dubs her Simone like very late in the process. Like after the movie has come out, only then does he go into the program and delete ulation off of her name.
He creates her through a database of all what I can presume is all of film history.
Yeah.
So he is trying to create a patchwork of actresses' personas.
Yeah.
And we get God, I could talk for about 3 episodes alone on computer interfaces in film.
It's always an adventure, isn't it? Like what is this? What does this movie think a computer is?
In this one, to visualize the database, we're kind of going through a free-floating like archive of old headshots.
Yeah,
and I want to throw the potential people that go into Simone's personality here as we see them displayed on the screen.
Yeah,
some of them are pretty, typical that you would expect. Some of them might be a little surprising. We've got Judy Garland, we got Veronica Lake, Audrey Hepburn, Meryl Streep, Jane Fonda, Rita Hayworth, Marlene Dietrich. Halle Berry was surprising to me.
Oh, interesting.
And of course, we can't go through that list without mentioning Ernest Borgnine.
Wait, Ernest Borgnine was one of
the only male.
but
and it's just Ernest Borgnine.
But Landon, the sexiest man who has ever lived, Ernest Borgnine. I mean, Ernest Borgnine's sex appeal transcends gender and sexual orientation. It passes through time and space.
Oh my God. I just like that's this film in its jokes. I feel like at times are like only making the filmmakers laugh, and if you pay attention, like it never draws its attention to itself. It's a 2-second shot where you see this. I had to like pause it to look and list everyone. I'm like, why the fuck is Ernest Borgnine there?
I'm just trying to think, like what? Yeah, what if this movie, but instead of making a leading lady in a computer, it's like making a cherished character actor in a computer. It's like it's called Steve, and it's just Steve Buscemi's floating face.
Listen, Truman, we're still in the early days of AI. I think we're years away from the revelation that Paul Giamatti has never really existed. He's been our test subject for AI actors this whole time.
You know, it turns out this whole time the big fat liar was Paul Giamatti. Inception noise. So he has pieced together Simone out of not just like the look, but also the vibe of all these different actresses.
Yeah.
Like there's a scene where he drags a clip of Holly Golightly in Breakfast at Tiffany's doing some mannerism and expression onto Simone, and then Simone repeats it, and he's like, perfect, great. Yeah. It's like putting a dash of salt in your stew. And I think it's super chill that Hank went ahead and digitized every single movie that's ever been made and loaded them onto his one hard drive. That was super cool. Glad he did that. Too bad he sat too close to the screen. This does raise a bigger question for me about Simone and her stardom, so I don't want to buffalo us into or out
Let's
of that.
do it.
So,
no, let's go for it.
Simone, worldwide sensation, throngs of fans, Beatlemania for Simone after one movie.
Yes.
But where Simone, the film Simone, falls apart is that it never really shows us why everyone is obsessed with Simone. It never really gives us a convincing reason for what is it that everyone sees in her. We get, like, 2 clips of her acting, and it's her kind of fairly blandly delivering a line that is more or less gibberish because it's in these weird art films that Viktor makes.
Right.
We get
I think you said it earlier. The line I think that was really trying to highlight that was, I'm just trying to run away. And Jay Mohr says, who are you trying to... He's yelling, Veronica!
Yeah.
What are you running away from? And she turns to the camera and says, Veronica.
Inception noise.
I.e., she's running away from herself.
Yeah, plot twist. That's the end of his movie. And so we get things like that later in the movie, you know, because the studio heads are saying, like, her public demands it, like the movie is going to tank unless she goes out and does a press tour for her next film. And so he has her do, you know, a couple of interviews with, like, Larry King types, satellite interviews where he's answering all the questions and he's got her in front of a CGI background. But even her answers to questions are kind of just like, oh, I just love working with Viktor. He's such a great director. I just don't really like being out in public that much. I prefer to let the work speak for itself. Like, there's never a sense of, like, what is it about her that makes her more irresistible than any other beautiful woman or actress? And this is where I compare us again to the Hudsucker Proxy.
Okay.
Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the Hudsucker Proxy or have not looked at the poster for the Hudsucker Proxy, in that movie, Tim Robbins' character, the gullible fool, has the idea for the hula hoop, winds up in control of this big company, invents the hula hoop. Everyone thinks it's a dumb idea. It seems like it's failing. But then there's this extended sequence where a child finds a hula hoop that's been cast out of the back of a toy store because no one wants to buy it. He picks it up. He starts hula hooping with it. A crowd of children sees him hula hooping. The children are transfixed. They're mesmerized. They go screaming and running into the store, and all of them want a hula hoop. And then it's like, and then everyone in America is obsessed with hula hooping. It's like, okay, like it's in a stylized way, but they've shown, like, oh, this is how the thing he thought of is catching on. We're just told that everybody loves Simone. We're never shown why they love Simone.
Yeah. It is a downfall of this film because, I mean, in it satirizing itself in terms of, you know, acting or the types of movies it's trying to make.
Yeah.
Like, we're not supposed to take the film seriously, but, like, we're not seeing on display Meryl Streep levels of acting.
Yeah.
Where I would start to buy that. Where it falls apart is, like, what we're left with is just the image of Simone.
Yeah.
Like, because everyone has their own subjective reasons for falling in love with her.
Sure.
You know, we get some people saying, you know, I saw this movie, she really moved me at a time, you know, she really spoke to me, she really broke through things.
Yeah.
Then we get the other side. We haven't even talked about Jason Schwartzman and Pruitt Taylor Vance
should,
to echo TMZ,
the
style.
tabloid paparazzi guys.
Yeah. Who are just obsessed, and like he's breaking into her hotel and like touching the toilet seat where she presumably sat. Like there's that side of it. We're only left with the image.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is, in our reality, attractiveness is so subjective that like it's impossible to say that, Rachel Roberts isn't attractive.
Oh yeah.
But
good looking, very good looking.
To be universally obsessed over is hard to wrap your head around.
And it's like, Taylor Swift is pretty universally obsessed over, because she has a body of work, music that she has written that people resonate with. She has a public persona that people can hold on to. She's also attractive. Yeah. Remember when Jennifer Lawrence really had her moment like 10 or 15 years ago, whenever that was, and a lot of that came from she has this really fun personality in interviews. She's down to earth, celebrities, they're just like us. And then that brought her a lot of attention and fan base, and her career went from there. Jennifer Lawrence, hot take, also beautiful, but it's this movie is kind of just, if the public sees a beautiful woman, they will project everything onto her, and she will be everything to them.
That's the thing. Yeah, I think the film wants us to see that the world is projecting what they want to see onto her.
Sure.
But we never see that demonstrated, really.
Yes.
Only in their obsessiveness. We don't actually get examples of how people project onto her.
Yes.
And therefore, there feels like there's an element missing to me buying into the concept.
All of the movie runtime real estate that could have been exploring those sorts of things instead goes to a lot of repetition of kind of the same bit, where they're at the launch party for one of the movies, and all the producers are where's, they're going up to Victor and going, Victor, where's Simone? Is Simone going to be here? And then they see a blonde lady standing far away, and they're like, that's Simone! Simone's over there! Ah, Simone! But that's not Simone, and it's people capering around, or
It's like all of the claymation figures in Michael Jackson's Moonwalker trying to chase him down to Speed Demon.
Yes. I mean, it's honestly, there's a lot, man, I talk about Austin Powers a lot, but at the beginning of that movie is just him being chased around by a mob of fans. That is a bunch of this movie, is mobs of fans chasing either Viktor Taransky around asking him where Simone is, or chasing around people they think is Simone. Just all of the areas, the bits of the movie that could have been spent asking these deeper questions about what do people see in Simone, why do they see these things, where is that going, are instead dedicated to slapstick bits of him trying to hide Simone's identity from them.
Here's the thing. I think maybe what we're missing, and that this film loses when you take it out of its year it was released, is maybe some historical context.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is very shortly after the Princess Diana thing, which is, I never talk about that, and I realize I brought that up on 2 or 3 episodes now.
Princess Diana is your Austin Powers, basically.
I guess so. There's the whole Britney Spears culture going on at this moment, where that kind of pop world is taking over, and maybe that was a bigger worry or cultural thing in the conversation at the time that this film is trying to be in conversation with, that divorced from it. We saw what happened to Britney Spears.
Sure.
We saw what happened to Lindsay Lohan. We saw the culmination of all of those storylines, and have forgotten what it was like in the throes of them. So that when we get a film that's trying to comment on it, we lose the original text, so to speak.
I possibly, but I think I would put more of the blame on this movie just kind of fumbling the ball, because there are movies that are made about, I don't know, I've talked about the movie Network a lot, but that was a movie that was made about a specific cultural moment in the mid-1970s that is still incredibly relevant today.
Yeah.
When a movie is trying to comment on current culture and does it well, it achieves a sort of timelessness. And when a movie tries to comment on current culture and doesn't do it very well, it has a Simone type situation where you're getting bodied by My Big Fat Greek Wedding at the box office.
All right, there's another scene I want to switch to that is somewhat related to this.
Yeah.
At the height of her fame, in order to maintain the reality of her, Viktor needs to start putting her out in the world.
Yes. Diversifying her portfolio of stuff.
So there's this scene where he kind of manipulates his assistant and or I don't know if it's, well, he does that at another point in the film. I don't know if that's this one. But he goes to a hotel. He goes to a hotel and tells the clerk, I want to make a reservation under the name S1M0NE or something like that, which is Simone backwards.
Yeah.
Alucard, if you watch Son of Dracula.
Yeah.
Anyway, he does that knowing that the clerk is going to call up, TMZ and get his $500 for the tip and, create a hoopla around it.
Yeah.
And so he then hires an actress, not even an actress. He hires, in a very confusing thing, they mention offhand that she is Simone's body double.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if it's meant for this one moment or if she is her body double in the movies they do.
I think for it's implied that for sex scenes in the movie there will be a body double for her.
That answers another question I have, which was if Viktor Taransky is controlling Simone, is he performing her in these movies?
Oh, boy.
And if so, there's that second movie where Catherine Keener's she's gonna be fine doing all this sex and nudity, and I'm like, is Viktor Taransky gonna have to get on a green screen and thrust?
Fucking again, I mean, give me that with 1995 Pacino, just really making a meal out of it. I want this movie to be unhinged and creepy and weird, and it's too busy being austere and at a remove. But if this movie was grimy and nasty and fucked up, really fucked up, I'm sorry. Continue making your point. I'm just putting that out.
Okay, well then let's go to the more existential side of this, which is Rebecca Romaine is, pretending to be Simone. He takes her to the hotel in order to really sell this. They're gonna go up to the room, and she kind of goes. She's basically selling sex in order to get closer to Simone, and they're gonna do it in the hotel room. And this was a real mindfuck for me once I started pulling on this thread, which is she wants him to call her Simone because she's already playing the role. And once she does that, he can't perform. So, can he not perform because Simone is getting the attention? But really, okay, hold on. I've already got my brain in a pretzel. Okay. What she's saying is, call me Simone, which is a fake person that is actually being played by Viktor Taransky. So she's actually saying, call me by your name.
More art films.
More art films. And he can't perform because he's basically having sex with someone pretending to be a fake version of himself.
I don't know if any man is that deep. I don't know if that's going to be the thing that makes it difficult for you to perform with Rebecca Romaine. I don't know. I don't know if he was. I want to think that it's more just him being. This is supposed to foreshadow this whole notion of, he created Simone to further his career, but now Simone is overshadowing him.
But this is the point of the film that I don't think ever really draws attention to itself, which is she is him.
Yeah.
He is her.
Yeah. Both the concept of her getting bigger than him and the fact that he is her, those are both things that are introduced and never really explored more deeply, again, in service of just, for this scene, we're going to have him hiding in his car holding up a mannequin to have a conversation with his wife. Instead of the deeper, headier issue about identity and the tragic comedy of what he's trying to do here, instead we just get hijinks and slapstick.
Yeah. And I wasn't trying to suggest that the film is wrestling with that. It was just like once I started to pull on the thread of he can't have sex with her because she wants to be Simone, I was like, but he is Simone. Yeah. So what's really going on here? And then that's where I like started to lose track of my own reality to go, what movie am I actually watching here?
Dude, you can't let Simone get into your head like this, man. It's gonna, it has negative consequences. You look into Simone and Simone looks back.
So she starts to get so big that you said diversify earlier. Yeah. She's gonna diversify her portfolio, and she's done two major films. What more can she possibly do? Oh, she's going to become a pop star now.
Yes, she is going to release an album and go on a live tour. So, okay, getting into this, coming to the concert scene, which I know from texting with you has also broken your brain a little bit. So
a lot of it.
Okay, so Simone has become so huge and so famous, and the Beatlemania crowds are out there, and they're following Viktor Taransky around. They're waiting outside his house. They have this kind of assumption that Simone lives at Viktor Taransky's house, or they have this, or like everyone is always asking Viktor Taransky, "Where's Simone? Where's Simone? Is Simone with you?" I mean,
let's use the Echo, which is the TMZ magazine,
the tabloid,
with Jason Schwartzman and Taylor Vance.
Yeah,
who they're always the ones asking the hard hitting questions. He's following him around, really snooping on this trail like a detective, and saying, off the record, tell me how you're doing it. Is it brainwashing? Is it drugs?
Yeah.
Is it blackmail? Are you holding her prisoner?
Yeah.
How are you doing it?
Yeah.
He just needs to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, and
it's actually on his conversation with him where he's like, what would put this to bed? He's like, I need to see her. He's like, you want to see her? You'll see her. Mm-hmm. And so he comes up with this scheme to put this concert on.
Yeah, they're asking all these hard-hitting questions. They're demanding to know where she is. They're asking all this of Viktor Taransky, and it's like why are you assuming that the guy who directed 2 of her movies knows where she is? Like, it's like, was everyone going after Martin Scorsese, being like, hey, where's Robert De Niro? What's he up to right now?
Maybe. I mean, the thing is, when she does PR, she is always mentioning him, and that becomes a sticking point with Catherine Keener and her character, who used to be married to Al Pacino, as we said, saying and trying to warn him, hey, she's using you. I know you don't see this, but she's using you to advance her career, and she's gonna drop you, and that's gonna suck.
Yeah.
And so I that part makes sense to me, because it's his own ego that is constantly referencing himself through her mouth. That people will go, well, she mentions no one else. Of course, you're. I mean, they think he's secretly having a relationship with her at one point. So
yeah, which is something that he kind of on again, off again denies in the movie. It's just. It is another, and I guess it's a logical thing that I shouldn't be pulling on, but just the fact that she gets bigger and bigger, and it's like he is her sole representative. The only point of contact for Simone is Viktor Taransky. So she goes on this. She becomes this pop star.
I do want to mention, I mean, just offhand, like, the film doesn't do a good job of this, but there are instances where you can see the world trying to populate the texture of her a little bit more by lying. People want to be closer to her.
Yeah.
And so there's all these little lines of like, oh, you used to date my cousin. Mm-hmm. Or, one person saying, oh, I was talking to Simone earlier, and she said that she thought I would be really good for this role.
Yeah.
That, I think there's a missed opportunity there to really drive that point home more, but
it's certainly out there, but like just the fact though that if you want to deal with like the only person who knows anything about Simone, the only person with any information about Simone is Viktor Taransky. She has become a pop star now. She is performing sold-out arena concerts like the one we're about to discuss. But the whole thing, like, we see Taransky at this venue beforehand making arrangements with the venue people and, like, this much smoke and this much... Like...
No assistance.
No assistance, just him. But, like...
Film director...
Yes, exactly.
Doing all of the event planning.
Imagine if you're the event booking person for Madison Square Garden, you want Taylor Swift, and it's like, oh, I guess I need to call her manager, Gus Van Sant. That's the person who you talk to get Taylor Swift. we want Beyonce to headline Coachella. Better talk to Todd Field. He's the guy who handles all Beyonce's booking. Like, it's ridiculous that the single gatekeeper for the most sought after pop star on earth is this kind of shambolic art film director who no one really seems to like.
This is another thing where, like, it should be a plot point of the film where he's in it for the artistic merit, and she's starting. This is where the monster is getting out of control. They make no hay of this in the film at all.
None.
But, like, he creates Viktor Taransky Productions in order to put on a live music show. How further away from making an artsy film can you get?
Yeah.
That should be a thing of, like, oh God, I can't control the beast anymore. The beast is controlling me.
Yeah.
It's not really there, but it's kind of there.
He seems to be having a pretty good time.
Yes, he does.
Like, and so there's this show. It's at the L.A. Coliseum, 100,000 people, smoke machines, and he's got a hologram of Simone, much like Tupac at Coachella.
Just really foreshadowing that in a big way, almost in an exact way.
And
I almost feel like the people from Coachella were like, we saw Simone. We've been working on the technology since 2002. I think we can finally unveil it during this Coachella event.
And that's why they've done it again and again ever since then. It was so popular that it wasn't just a singular thing. But yeah, she comes out and she sings "You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman." Does a cover, not original music. That's cool, not judging.
Also, I want to, another weird mind pretzel mind fuck here.
Sounds disgusting.
Okay, Rachel Roberts playing Simone, who's a fake actor or fake person in a fake movie, and we have a real person singing for Simone's voice, who is a fake person. This is Mary J. Blige singing, doing the voice of singing Natural Woman for Simone as Rachel Roberts. I couldn't, like, my brain broke when I was trying to wrap my head around that.
Okay, so Simone is basically doing Milli Vanilli. She's lip syncing someone else's work, but also it's like Milli Vanilli isn't even there. It's like fake people.
MIDI Vanilli. That's a 1990s musical technology.
So it's just like bloop 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 bloop.
Exactly.
Bloop. Yeah, this huge concert where it's like, oh, photography is forbidden, so there's like a garbage can full of cameras because everyone is throwing out their cameras. Why?
Just throw your camera.
Maybe just don't bring it. Just put it back in the car. Put the camera in the car.
But it's also like you can't take the film to task for that, because the joke also is that it's all the same. It's like in a Wes Anderson sort of vibe. They're all the same model of the camera in the trash. So you know they're kind of aware of what they're doing in that moment.
It's a good shot. It's effective visual storytelling. I can't get mad about it.
Yeah.
But even though I did just get mad about it, so whatever. But also, she does the performance. The paparazzi guys are there and they're transfixed. His wife and daughter are there. They're transfixed by it. And, like, after the thing ends, it's gone off perfectly without a hitch. And there's just kind of shots of the crowd leaving. And there's one shot, this seems to be like second unit stuff, of a bunch of bros, shirtless bros with Simone, like the letters of her name, each, S on one guy's chest, an I on one guy's chest, an M, like spelling Simone. It's like the people who, like, it's like guys at a football game in the snow would take their shirts off and it has Chiefs written on it or something. But, like, who are these dude bro, like, jock types going to the female pop star concert? Like, what the hell is this?
They're the production designers that we saw in the bathroom in the earlier scenes.
Now that was believable. So
this is there's also, like, at this point in the film, it's starting to get more loosey-goosey with logic, and you're either on board or you're not on board. Spoiler alert, I was on board, so, like, I'm not really taking this to task for it, but, like, there are, like, the huge hordes of concert is out and about, they're in the Coliseum, and he's on the bus controlling Simone. is he singing the song? Did he pre-program the
I
song?
want to see
We
him
see
do
him
it.
like mix. We see him mix Whitney Houston and Madonna. For some reason, that doesn't bring out Mary J. Blige. Whatever. But then he's like, while people are cheering, waiting for Simone, the fog machines are already going. He's making like last-minute decisions about her hair and makeup.
Insane.
Like designing what she's gonna wear on stage. I'm like, wouldn't you have done that like a month beforehand?
That's showbiz, baby. That's how it works. You know, you do your best work right under the deadline, right with a gun to your head. So,
Okay.
All right. Simone has gotten really big. It sort of generally starts to get out of control. She wins an Academy Award, but in the pre-recorded speech that he did, she doesn't thank Viktor, and he's kind of upset about that. It sort of comes to this point.
She ties. I want to just draw out how kind of like insane this movie's getting at this point, because we're on a train at this point, and Jay Mohr, who's her co-star, we haven't really talked about Jay Mohr. I generally don't care for the gentleman, but
You'd
I
like
think
Jay
he does
less.
really well here.
Yeah.
I do Jay less. He's reading the Oscar nominations. There's 5 people nominated. Simone is nominated twice for the 2 movies she did in the same year, and it's a tie. She wins for both, which is like that's the level the movie's operating on right now.
Yes, like Simone has become God at this point.
Yes.
And it's just at this point where her fame has completely overshadowed his. He and his wife are like his ex-wife. Like, she has seen like how big Simone is getting, and all this evidence that seems to point to Simone being in a relationship with Al Pacino, and that
he comes off the bus with the lipstick on his mouth after kissing her headshots, but she thinks it's from kissing Simone. Yeah.
And so all of the Catherine Keener's character is incredibly flimsy, just paper thin, and basically getting the impression that her ex-husband is dating Simone makes her fall back in love with her ex-husband. And so basically he wants to rekindle the relationship, but she's like, "No, I can't be competing with Simone. You'll always go back to her." He's saying stuff about how she's gonna retire. No, she'll never make another movie, not if I don't want her to, and that's somehow not a red flag for his wife, who continues to want him back. And
I have a comment to make about Catherine Keener.
I will just say, to just kind of advance us towards the ending, the fact that Simone is standing between him getting back with his ex-wife, this makes him decide, I need to destroy Simone, whether by first trying to destroy her public image and then trying to literally kill her. Say what you have to say about Catherine Keener.
Okay, and then, yes, that's a great way to wrap it up, is the destruction or thereof of Simone.
Yes.
Catherine Keener is such an intelligent actress.
Yes.
And to be put into a film like this, where she's by necessity made to be gullible, she plays this in such an interesting way.
Yeah.
Where I feel like other actresses of different calibers would kind of play ditzy, maybe.
Yeah.
A little dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Catherine Keener's solution to being given information, maybe it's almost like they're the AI.
Yeah. Yeah.
What happens is I'm thinking of a moment when in a few scenes you set up that we're going to go into the destruction of Simone. Spoiler alert, Al Pacino puts a floppy disk in Simone's machine, gives her a plague. She gets Thanos snapped off the screens.
That's how deleting works. You slowly break apart into 1,000,000 pixels and fly away. It's a good thing that Hank animated that for what it will look like if Simone gets deleted.
Their daughter, Evan Rachel Wood, who we also haven't talked much about in this episode, is always on the computer. What is she, a millennial? With their devices all the time?
She's quiet quitting left, you know, she's Gangnam styling on the right, all these kids today.
She's working the gig economy. She is she recognizes there's a plague in there, brings Simone back, but she's like explaining all this techno babble, and Catherine Keener is just like, what? I don't get it. Like, I don't understand what you're saying. Her reaction to receiving information that is contrary to what her gullibility programming suggests is to just sit there and stare at the person.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't make a goofy face. She doesn't, like, contradict anyone. She just kind of, like, stares at them.
It's
Like,
it's the Westworld
keep
robots.
talking.
Yeah, that doesn't look like anything to me.
Right, yeah. It's what's that Black Mirror episode where it's like it is erased out of her field of view.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
The words that are spoken to her are outside of her programming or forbidden, and therefore her brain doesn't process them.
Yeah, the page you requested could not be found. This happens so much in the last third of the movie, where repeatedly Taransky will be talking to someone, and he will say to them, like, literally, Simone is a computer lady. Like, I made her in a computer, she's virtual and does not exist. And the person he says it to will just... It's not like he says the information in a way that they misunderstand him or they have a different impression of what's going on. It's literally they just do not absorb the information and act as though he has said nothing. Like, he tells Catherine Keener directly, I made Simone in a computer, she's not real. And Catherine Keener is just like, I can't believe you'd tell some crazy lie like that. Simone is real, she's flesh and blood. It's like, she will be fooled by a mannequin sitting in a car with a cell phone glued to its face, but she won't accept that the woman who no one has ever met in person, who there are no actual traces of existing,
Right.
could have been created on a computer.
Yeah, exactly. That's the line. When you think about it, did you ever really meet her in person? Yeah, that's what as she's like bringing Simone back on the computer. She's like, Catherine Keener's getting defensive, saying, "Well, I'm the head of a studio. I wouldn't have greenlit pictures and given a 3-film contract to someone I haven't met." And Evan Rachel Wood is like, "But have you really, really met her? You know?" And that's where she just kind of like pauses and stares at her, like, I cannot compute.
And now, to be fair, I feel like this is very realistic because people who run movie studios are dumb. They're very dumb. Perhaps some of the dumbest people. So, on that level, it makes sense. But, yeah, I don't know. It is just hard to see Catherine Keener in this role. Who, I feel like every other movie is the smartest one in the movie who is running circles around everybody else.
Well, I want to talk real quick about where this falls in her career. I don't have much for her because I mean she's Catherine. She's
Keener.
iconic in her own right.
Yeah.
In as I feel, maybe not Pacino level, but like, okay, so she kind of started in the mid '80s to '90s through the '90s, working in both TV and film. She started to become like an indie favorite and a favorite of indie-minded mainstream directors like Steven Soderbergh.
Yeah.
So she starts, popping up in kind of big Sundance or film festival type of movies like Steve Buscemi's 1995 Living in Oblivion, but also in Soderbergh's, Hollywood Fair, like Out of Sight in 1998. She shows up in Joel Schumacher's 8mm in 1999 opposite Nicolas Cage, but also in 99 gets Being John Malkovich, which she gets her first Oscar nomination for. To me, that cements her as an icon.
Yeah.
And in a way, I kind of feel like pigeonholes her for a while. And she starts to take roles that are contrary to that kind of Ice Queen role she played there.
Yeah.
But she becomes a mainstay of a lot of directors. Spike Jonze uses her often. Charlie Kaufman uses her often. I said Soderbergh twice already because she was in Full Frontal as well. Nicole Holofcener uses her a lot. Rebecca Miller. So you could see kind of both sides of the studio and the indie. She went on to become nominated again, playing Truman Capote's wife in Capote with Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah.
And there's a second Truman Capote reference on this show.
I know. We're talking about the Truman Show. We're talking about Truman Capote.
We got both of the Trumans on this episode.
Well, actually, you have 3 of the Trumans on this episode. Don't forget that I'm here too.
Well, we didn't do Harry Truman, so I guess we're missing one.
I mean, I did offhandedly reference Oppenheimer, which does feature
there you go.
Gary Oldman as Truman Capote. So, no, I'm sorry, as Harry S. Truman. I'm sorry. Let me be clear. Truman Capote had nothing to do with the decision to drop nuclear weapons on Japan. That was a Harry Truman move.
Yes.
Although honestly, I feel like Truman Capote probably would have dropped even more nukes on Japan because he was seriously bitchy.
Okay, let's start to wrap this up.
Yeah.
The dissension, the destruction of Simone. Where do you want to go with this? My notes start to get pretty sparse here because it really takes some leaps.
Yes.
With what happens.
He first releases a movie, Simone's directorial debut, that consists largely of Simone wearing a wedding dress, rooting around in the mud with a bunch of pigs, eating out of a trough. The audience
because
loves
his intention is to he can't destroy her, so he wants to. Well, this is his way of destroying her, by destroying her persona.
Yes. But it turns out everybody loves the movie. They think it's super profound. Next, he has her...
I Am Pig.
Yes, I Am Pig. Everyone in the theater is kind of put off by the movie, but then when the credit directed by Simone comes up, they all start clapping and go nuts. Then there's an interview he has her do where she's smoking and drinking and looks really bad, and she says a litany of really controversial things, talking about how elementary schools need firing ranges and how immigrants are gross and isn't America full already and all this stuff. And the interviewers hear a celebrity saying a bunch of gross right-wing stuff, and they don't really press her on it and just say, wow, what a bunch of interesting and bold opinions. And
2024, everyone.
Yet another thing that this movie kind of predicts in a certain way. And so basically his attempts to tarnish her name are not working, so then he decides, okay, I'm gonna kill her. He deletes her, he dumps all of the discs and everything in the ocean, he makes an announcement that Simone has died, but then shortly thereafter the police arrest him because they have footage of him dragging this trunk full of all of the discs out to his boat. They assume that's her body. A lot of really squiffy police work here. The cops are so convinced that he murdered this woman, but none of their investigation has turned up the fact that this woman has no birth certificate. There's no evidence. Not a single detective is hey, it seems like she was a computer.
And there's no body either.
No,
I mean, there's not even
no DNA.
another body that they've uncovered. To me, you can't arrest someone for murder. To me, what do I know? But I'm pretty sure the law is you can't arrest somebody for murder if there's not actually evidence of a murder having happened.
Nor can you arrest someone for putting a fake person in a movie. I mean, he has this whole bit where he's in jail and he's like, no, I dumped all the hard drives and stuff to make the computer lady. He's explaining that he made a computer lady, and the detective, who is also played by George Costanza's boss, Jay Kruger from Seinfeld.
Why isn't this movie called Computer Lady?
It should be called.
That's the gritty, grimy version that you want to see.
It's C0MPUT3RL @dy. David Zaslav, call me up. I got a million of them. He takes the cops out in a cop boat, and they pull up the trunk that they dropped in the water. He's like, here, it'll show you all the hard drives and stuff. But it's empty. And
I also want to watch the movie or TV show Cop Boat.
All cop boats are bastards, though, so I wouldn't watch it. But there's nothing in there, and he's saying, oh, you guys, you have to go back down there. It all spilled out on the ocean floor, and the divers are like, we're not going to go back down there because there's sharks swimming around. We then get a cut to the greatest fake newspaper headline in history. Front page of the LA Times headline, Simone's body believed eaten by sharks.
You know what? I didn't mention this earlier, but this movie is there are big plot points propelled by the news in here. And there's a moment when Catherine Keener, it's what starts the car scene. Catherine Keener is in the car. She's about to see Simone on the phone, the whole charade, the farce that Pacino's going to do to her. But the scene starts with a overhead shot of the 405 freeway bumper to bumper, and the news radio. Again, throwaway line. It's not really given much real estate or attention. The news broadcaster goes, escalating violence, tragic loss of human life, and the threat of all-out war was overshadowed by the Oscar nominations.
It's like a little hint of sharp-elbowed satire in the middle of a soft focus movie. Yeah.
It's weird. Anyway.
he's in jail. It looks like everything's going to be bad, but then his wife and daughter his daughter finds the Simone computer, finds the virus disk in it, immediately pieces everything together because, again, she's a child who uses a laptop, so she knows everything. And she basically hits Control Z, and Simone comes back and is fine, and his daughter then releases a video of Simone holding that day's newspaper, so then he's released from jail, and his wife and daughter pick him up in the car and are like, we know everything, we want you to have, well, how about you and Simone move in with us? And so then, like, the last scene in the movie is another press interview with Simone by satellite where she talks about
she says, Catherine Keener says, well, what's better than creating one actress? You can create an entire cast.
Yeah, but then we go to this interview with Simone where she says, I'm retired from acting, I'm going to get into politics now because I want to create a better world, and the camera zooms out, she's holding a baby for my son Chip, and also Al Pacino, Taransky, sitting next to her on the couch, implying that Taransky is the father of her child. And we then pull back from, the image on the monitor to where they're shooting this, and it's just Al Pacino sitting completely alone on a couch, pretending to play with a baby, pretending to have Simone next to him. And Al Pacino, in this last shot, just kind of looks at the camera and kind of just shrugs. As if to just say, I don't know, man, we had to end the movie somehow. I guess Robo Baby.
Well, he's on the green screen, he's on the couch, there's obviously no one next to him, and he puts his hand over like he's, cooing the baby.
Mm-hmm.
And as he's doing that, we both see the monitor showing Simone holding the baby and him on the green screen, and that there's nothing there next to him when he's doing it, and that's how the movie ends.
I don't know. I don't know how the movie wants us to feel about the ending, because
yes,
to me it's very bleak. To me, Catherine Keener is so impressed that her ex-husband created a fake lady and that she has invited him back into her life so she and their daughter can help perpetuate a lie that he and the fake lady have had a fake baby, and then they're going to scale up the lie and the deception to have her embark on a political career when she's already articulated a bunch of explicitly hard right-wing views.
Yeah.
Yes. So this movie ends at the place where, honestly, I would rather it begin, which is Catherine Keener is in a throuple with her ex-husband and his virtual waifu who is becoming a right-wing influencer. I mean, I want to see.
Oh my God.
I want to see that movie. I want to see a sequel delving into how that plays out, and I want it to be directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, because that, I think, would be incredible. That movie I want.
Oh my God. Well, okay, so I mean, not to take away from that, which is the best way to end this, but did you stay for the post-credit sequence?
I did. I learned my lesson after 54, and I stayed. I sat through the credits, where there's this sequence of Al Pacino pulling a shopping cart on like a fishing line around a supermarket and filming it, and then releasing footage of Simone like shopping at the store, pushing the cart, and we cut to one of the paparazzi guys watching the video and kind of sighing and going, "She likes chicken pot pie just like me."
Yeah. Oh God, I don't even.
I don't know what to do with that.
I don't even know what to make of any of this.
I don't know why they felt like that scene was so fucking good that it had to go in. It's like, we can't fit it into the plot of the movie, but we can't leave it. It's too juicy.
When there are 25 minutes of deleted scenes that you can find on YouTube for this movie,
well, you can
which we don't have time to go into here.
You can find the deleted scenes on YouTube, uploaded in poor quality by a guy who, for some reason, has scored like industrial metal music over like 2 of the scenes badly,
like "Run Lola Run" music over top of them.
Very odd. Very odd. The internet is a wonderful place.
Okay. I mean, there's still a million things I want to talk about this movie. Things like, is he going out and filming the B-roll for the backgrounds of the, like, he's on a fake film set, but he's actually filming with other actors, so where is the actual set that he's filming with them? Like, there's all these unanswered things that I just, the movie leaves me just, salivating over wanting the answers for.
Yeah. I mean, and and part of that, tune in next week, and we'll cover some of the odds and ends.
I guess so.
And part of it also is, it's like the Hudsucker proxy. Like, why do they have a big, light up sign in the mailroom that says blue letter? Like, I don't know. It looks cool on camera. Like some things.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I'm not taking them to task for not answering those, but like, the questions are there, and I am spending time thinking about them.
Much like the reporters in this movie, you're just asking questions, and
I am.
And unlike the reporters in this movie, you are actually like trying to accept the simple answers in front of you instead of these guys who refuse to assume she might not be real.
Well, I do have a question for you to kind of start to wrap this up. After all of this, why do you think this film was forgotten?
I think this film is an interesting case because there are movies that hit big on release and manage to grow in relevance with each passing year. Movies like I already mentioned Network, and also Andrew Niccol's movie The Truman Show,
or Gattaca
for that matter. But I mean, something like The Truman Show, which came out before Survivor, before reality TV really blew up, and has just found new relevance in the early 21st century with reality TV. It's finding even more relevance now with influencer culture and social media. Like, there are some movies that right away are a hit, and there's just, as the world turns and changes, those movies stay relevant. Whereas Simone came out and was sort of dismissed as sort of like, this is a frivolous, thin idea. It doesn't really work. Like, even a charitable review in the New Yorker, they kind of just said, like, this is fluff. Like, it has some, it shouldn't be derided as heavily as it is, but there's just not a lot here. Basically, over the 20 years since its release, Simone very rapidly aged into relevance with the rise of AI and deepfakes and the strike and celebrities getting into politics and, like, all of that stuff. I mean, celebrities have obviously gotten into politics before the past 20 years. Ronald Reagan was an actor and he was a bad president. But all of these,
every episode a Reagan reference.
Yeah, but in a bad way. Every episode a good Hudsucker reference and a bad Reagan reference. The movie aged into relevance with all of these different things, but at the same time, it aged into irrelevance because it has posited all of these big ideas that are very, like, central to the world we live in today, but it is not interested in interrogating or commenting on any of them. Every one of these big things that it brings up, are these kind of moral and ethical questions of tech and art and commerce and humanity. It sort of hand waves them away and just says, yeah, wouldn't that be wacky if this happened? So the movie was forgotten because it wasn't relevant at the time that it was made, and even now it doesn't really have anything to say about the relevant issues that it inadvertently brought up.
Yeah. I'm going to come at this from a completely different angle, which is one of marketing. I feel like films with a tone like this seem to be impossible for Hollywood to market properly.
Tough sell, yeah.
To them, it's not really a comedy. It's not really a drama. It's not really a science fiction movie. If I could speculate for a second, and I started to talk about this at the top of the episode, I think executives saw a talent in Andrew Niccol. Yeah. I think to kind of appease him and keep him, involved in their, working lives, they gave a green light to his passion project with a strict $10 million budget. And they said, we're going to put less of that into marketing. They release it into as many theaters as they can and hope that the poster or trailer with Al Pacino will be just enough to get, people in the seats to recoup their expenses.
I mean, and the poster is a tiny Al Pacino looking at a massive, naked, beautiful woman.
Again, that was what we said about our other 2002 film, Life is Something Like It. Just 2002, the year of tiny men.
Tiny men and huge women. Back in the day when all the men were tiny and all the women were gigantic.
I have kind of an annoyingly practical side note about the years intervening and streaming. This film is practically impossible to find. It's streaming as of the recording of this on Tubi, but to search for this film, you have to go through 30 people named Simone, or you have to type in S1M0NE, which you're not gonna do
unless you're committed like us.
And in that case, it's going to like fuck with the search algorithms of the places you're searching and probably not turn it up anyway.
The movie about a computer lady just happens to be very difficult for computers to find and index.
Seriously. And if you've noticed, it's a 1 and a 0 in the title. So, like, it's literally binary code throwing off the algorithms.
Again, it both becomes relevant and irrelevant at the same time.
Exactly. And so, like, because it's not being seen very often, it's not at the top of search results, or, like, you might also enjoy. And so I think for a very just mundane, like, logistical reason, this film hasn't been rediscovered because it's never at the top of streaming services recommendations.
Yeah, and I mean, also, what is there to discover, though? Really, I mean, much like the trunk that that the people on the cop boat pull up. It's like it's you discover the thing and it's just got some seaweed in it. Like, there's nothing there.
Sometimes it's the experience rather than the meaning behind it. I think that's a good a segue as any to go into our verdicts. Should we send this back to modern memory?
I honestly, I've gone back and forth on this. I think we should.
Yeah.
I think we should send this movie back to modern memory. Because
why?
It looks good. Like, it's a good looking movie. It's a good looking movie. It's fun. Like, I'm not mad at this movie. I don't hate this movie.
No.
I don't think there's really anything super toxic or bad or nasty in this. I mean, I don't know. I think that this is a distinctive looking film, and it's interesting that they tried to do a sci-fi Hollywood farce and I didn't commit. But I think there's interesting things
starring Al Pacino.
Starring Al Pacino. It is interesting. This movie is interesting. It is a rich text, and
it is.
I think we should send it back.
I agree. This is the first. Well, I mean, with setting aside the 54 debacle,
that doesn't count.
I think
that
this
movie's
is
actually good.
This is the first time we're both agreeing that we should send this back to modern memory, without like a director's cut getting involved.
The director's cut would make this worse. If they put the deleted scenes back in, this movie would be like 2.5 hours long, and it would still suck.
This movie is a mess, but there is nothing else like it. I struggle to find a proxy of your comparison to the Hudsucker proxy is not one that would be easily drawn, correlations with, but I think it is a really, really good one.
Yeah.
This film somehow simultaneously looks forward and looks backward in like equal measures.
Yeah.
It's fascinating what it gets right and what it gets so wrong.
Oh, man, it's great.
I think just for the uniqueness of a movie called Simone, starring Al Pacino, just like the very basic existence of this movie is enough for it to be remembered.
Yes.
So there it is. We don't have to. What do we do? Oh my God, we've never like both decided to save a movie before. We've always jettisoned it back out into the wild.
Or one of us does.
Do we have a storage device here on the machine? How do we send this? Oh, we put it in the transporter. We send it back to 2002.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we send it from 2002 to 2024.
How long have we been on this movie memory machine, and we still don't have the basic workings of it figured out? The user interface for the movie memory machine is almost as confusing as Simone's user interface is.
We need a Simone for the machine here to keep us in track.
Easy now, pervert. Don't think it's for that.
Listen, save your pervert comments until I'm like cradling the toilet seat.
Yeah, I'll save my pervert comments until you've got a virtual Ernest Borgnine hanging out with us up here. You guys want to come to my butcher shop?
Next time I shut my laptop really quickly when you walk in. And you just happen to see Ernest Borgnine on my screensaver. Oh my god. Okay, well, let's put this in the transporter, send it back to modern memory, and let's get out of here and see people next week.
Yeah, well, hey, for Landon Solano, I've been Truman Caps.
And for Truman Caps, I've been Solano. I've been Landon Solano. I went monosyllabic with it.
He's glitching out. The Landon simulation is faltering here. I'm worried people are going to know that he was never real. I made a computer dude.
Oh, dear God. We'll see you next week, folks.
Whoa!
Movie Memory Machine is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. Join our Patreon at patreon.com/gruntworkpodcast to keep the machine running. Theme song by Porky's Groove Machine. Rate us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. For more information on today's show, visit MovieMemoryMachine.com.